Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Where are you listening to us tonight? I know here in the United States it's getting kind of late for my good friend Charis here. It's 10:30 over there on the East Coast, and for me, I'm in the Central Time. Now, for you LA people out there, y'all, it's 7:30. We're having a late dinner, going to a movie. Maybe we're gonna have a couple of cocktails. It's Friday night. I don't even want to talk about you. I'm disgusted with you. You people are evil out there, just evil. No, I'm just kidding, people. I like LA people. I'll be out there in 2 weeks and 3 weeks, and I enjoy really. Actually, I've been lucky with my visits to LA. I've been to LA about 12, 14 times over the years, and I just haven't had these horrible experiences that people tell me about. And don't get me wrong, I've had friends go. I was stationed in San Diego in the Navy, and I went to LA a few times. And I just the worst experience I've ever had going to LA so far, knock on wood, is we got off of interstate. My wife and I, and this is like, oh God, this is 10, 15 years ago. We get off of interstate because I'm hungry and I wanted to drink. So I see a McDonald's, pulling back. McDonald's saving me. Come on, it's McDonald's. You pulling back. Nobody spoke English. Nobody, not a little bit of English, no English, no English. They said no English. So I said, well, can you understand English? I said, this is what I want. So this girl comes out the back with what I asked for. I was like, okay. So I gave him, I think it was like $10 back then. So I gave him 20, said, keep it. And they just all looked at me like all kind of strange and weird shit. I said, well, I'm out here. Y'all have a good time. Made me feel like I should have got my car and get my gun. It's like, oh man. But that is probably the worst experience I've had. I shouldn't even say that out loud, but I find people out there to be friendly. Last year we went out clubbing. We had a good time. Everybody was real nice. And once everybody found out that I was from New Orleans and Chris was from Australia and the rest of the boys from the UK, we didn't pay for another drink. Matter of fact, I said, one of the guys, he said, I've never smoked marijuana before. I was like, really? I said, I'm kind of, old for that shit. I said, well, yeah. So I walked to this guy, he looks kind of rough looking guy. I said, hey, dude, we're from the city. I told him where we were from. He's like, really, really? I said, these guys ain't there. He's like, really? He rips and gives me a handful. So I walk over to the guy and said, here, try it out. And Chris is like, what the hell? And from the rest of that night, because they started introducing us as we were going to other clubs to other people. And it was really weird. I mean, we didn't drink. And then we finally hit this one club. And I hit the door and she said, you got to be dressed in black. And I looked down and looked up. I'm dressed in black. And what the hell? I'm going in. And everybody but one of us was dressed in black. And somebody gave him a black jacket to put over his green shirt. So he had to zip it up. And that place was hopping. The owner came out, introduced himself. Came out. He went in the back. Oh, man. Anyway, I can't talk about the rest of that. But still, we had a good time. So I'm just telling people, they're friendly like they in New Orleans. I think what it really is, it's like most cities, as long as you've got a local guide, you're probably going to be in good shape. You're not going to be going to the wrong clubs. And Darren, we did not go to bars like that. Shame on you. You see, you got your mind in a good. Besides, at least stop saving booze after 2 a.m., my friend. Yeah, unless you know somebody special somewhere, you're not getting no more booze. Oh, and my first trip out there, one of those with some of the judges saying, we're going to go get a drink. It was like 12:05. We walked down to the bar. They're like, what are you doing? We want a drink. They're like, no, you can't have a drink. I'm like, what do you mean I can't have a drink? I said, dude, it's 12 o'clock. I want a drink. I said, well, can you go buy? He said, no, you can't get none at the liquor store. I'm like, what? I said, what kind of barbaric city am I in, man? This is cruel and unusual punishment. Well, people, I'm from New Orleans. They drink 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can buy liquor 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yeah, we don't care, man. If you're an alcoholic, practice it. Just don't run nobody over. We'll be happy. Just teasing. I don't want anybody running anybody over, okay? So, Charis, how have you been? Oh, introduce yourself properly since I just brought you in and didn't say who you were or nothing.
No worries. I lived in LA for a long time and I've been to New Orleans a few times. We've hung out in New Orleans before.
Oh, yes, we have.
And, I think it's great how your baseline is because in most places, New Orleans is the crazy wild. Oh, wow, you can get alcohol at whatever time.
Drink all you want. Become an
alcoholic.
alcoholic.
A monster, like it's a friendly monster. I feel like you just have to know how to act. And like it depends on what you're into and what you want. Okay, so I'm Charis Melina Brown. I'm author of the Starseed trilogy, which we met when I was writing the first book.
Yes.
And that was a long time ago. And
so, no, that was just a couple of weeks ago.
Talking about a season or two. Only a decade. Oh, I don't know,
Yes, but no,
2012,
yeah,
something like
she's
that.
only like
2011.
25. Don't let her BS you,
Yeah,
man.
it's fine. You can't, who knows? Who knows? That's my goal, is to just be one of those
Mm.
people. You're like, I don't know. There's like a 20, 30-year range you could be in.
No, I quit
Um,
counting when I hit 40. That was it for me. I'm going backwards now.
that's me next month. A month from today, I turn 40.
We
It's
see you're
about
a
to happen.
baby. Oh my God, she's. I know, Bruce. She's a baby, man. Not like that kind of baby,
No.
dude.
No, well, I mean, it's nice to be able to like have all the seasons, right? And so what do you even say about myself? Contactee my whole life. Wrote about that in the Starseed books. Also a spiritual teacher and a guide. I train Reiki practitioners, and I've been a Reiki practitioner for 20 years. And so my main work is mostly online, some in person, but just kind of trying to keep the vibration high. I also believe in shadow work, so you won't find any toxic positivity. Like sometimes things are shitty and they're just shitty, and that's
Yeah,
like
it's
part of it.
isn't that the truth?
Yeah, and even when it comes to off-planet stuff, I was preparing for this talk and kind of asking space friends like what are we going to get into? I contacted you a couple weeks ago and was like, I just got a notification through crown chakra basically that there's about to be a wave of more experiences people are having, and asked you if that was true, and you're like, yeah, well, it's been tripled. The reports have been
It's been
tripled
crazy.
lately. So yeah, I was thinking what to share. And I think the thing that came through, the one of the most important things is when stuff happens, multidimensional stuff, it can be scary or you can relax into it. So I've found some the scariest things that have happened have usually been tests of willpower, because it's not, the strength of arm isn't really going to help you with that kind of stuff. It's got to be the strength of your mind. And then there's also some experiences that are really lovely, beautiful, and friendly and encouraging. And so you hope that's what you get. But often one leads into the other. And I think that sometimes we're
Mm.
pushed to see what our minds can take and what we can remember and what we can collaborate on.
Well, we're all here to learn something, but I remind people this. The other day, somebody said, "Well, sometimes you can be so mean." I said, you got to remember, people, we're not all here to learn. Some of us are here to teach, and it's just like, what? I said, I'm your karma, so I deal with it. And they're like, "Joe, that's so wrong." I said, "That's life, my friend. I can't help that. It's not you did something bad to me last life, so now shit's happening to you."
I don't make the rules.
Yeah, that's right. I'm not the one who wrote the rules, but it is true. People, when I started talking about this, oh God, many, many moons ago,
Mhm.
when I brought it out the first time into the community, they're like, no, nobody's here to teach. Well, somebody's going to be here to teach if people are learning. Give me a freaking break. And I think for the most part, some people here are going to, don't get me wrong, they're going to experience stuff too. But, and some of it may be horrible and bad. I'm not going to lie, but
Yep.
still, for the most part, they're going to find themselves doing more teaching than they are learning. And some of it's going to be in a metaphysical way, but some of it's unfortunately going to be in a more, how can I say this nicely, a direct way. Things that you're just not going to like, no matter what. It's just not going to go over well. And that's just, I hate to say that too. It's just part of life, but you can minimize these things, people. Prepare yourself for life. I was just picking on a friend of mine yesterday. I said, "You used to be so PLNL when I first met you." And I said, "Now you're just a mean old bitch." And she said, "We'll kick your ass." I said, "See."
See?
I said, in the old days, you would have chanted me out. Now you want to kick my ass. I said, "You see what I mean?" Well, yes, it's cheating. Yeah, Irene, but still, guys, y'all can come in the chat room with us if you go over to any one of the Facebook pages, or you can't. No, on Roku you can't. I know Denise and Robbie and them yelling in Messenger because you can't on Roku. There is not a chat. I'm sorry, guys, but the new website is mostly finished, and they are transferring the name from GoDaddy to Homestead, so y'all should be able to start using it. And I think we're going to go ahead and add a chat feature in there for the people who don't like to be on Facebook or don't, for some reason, want to be on YouTube. Well, again, and Roku is nothing. I can't make big company like Roku do. I say, look, Roku, you better put some chat in there. They'd be like, yeah, whatever, dude. Our Roku works just fine. I don't think we need to add any chat. And as far as I know, they may be a chat feature in there. I really don't know, but we're adding one in. So sometime in the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we'll add one in there and y'all can use it. But for the most part, the new site will be up. Y'all can go by and visit it and look at all the pretty people. I'm making all the scary hosts put their pictures up too. I said, look, if my face has got to be up there, y'all's face has got to be up there. That's the way that shit works. Well, some of our guests, no. So, on this particular network, there's just a wide range of stuff. So like our daytime shows currently right now, most of them out of the UK. I got to introduce Charis to somebody, so she's going to love them. And they're much more, how can I say this, spiritual. They're more into changing life through spiritual ways, or healing through particular ways. Oh yeah, there's Bart has a show. There's 5 or 6 of them in the daytime, and they're all British, by the way, all of them. And well, our whole daytime slot is going to belong to overseas people. Yes. So if you're in America driving around, that's what you're going to hear. You're going to hear a whole different lineup than you would hear if you went to any other radio station in the country. You're going to be like, gee, but who's all these Brits? What the hell are they doing on in the United States? Wow, listen to these accents. So it's just something we add. And it's actually was Michelle DeRoche's idea. I can't take credit for it. She's been a great manager so far. Shy, no, I've been doing Shires for a long. She said earlier, I've been doing it for a long time. We've talked about many, many, many things. When it comes to contact or like this, what is this UFO yap? I'm not into this UAP thing. It just comes out to yap every time to me. I just don't like the way it sounds. And it was just hard. And then here the government is, oh well, you know what? We believe in UFOs. Oh shit, really? I said, if you should have come and listened to Shires tonight, we did all kind of stuff on this. Y'all would have learned a long time ago. We
I
had made
know. I
like
know.
yourself the way you are.
Someone called it drip disclosure the other day. I saw,
It is kind of interesting.
yeah, and I was, well, drip, like drip by drip. And the guy from Israel, the guy who just talked to some paper and about space stuff, about, oh yeah, we know there's off-planet stuff. They call themselves the Galactic Federation and da da da. And I was sitting there like, oh yeah, bro, like there's been channelings from the Galactic Federation just coming through on YouTube randomly or whatever for decades at this point. I don't necessarily know that every single channeling is accurate,
Yeah, well,
but
you
it's,
never know. Some of them,
I
some of
mean,
them pretty good. Some of them you're like, whoa.
yeah, it just, you have to use your discernment, right?
Yes.
But the point is, it's like we already know these things, and I think that the main thing that nice that gives people trouble
I'm
is
ready.
wanting the government or some governing body, the church, the government, whatever, to tell them, you're ready, to tell them what they're supposed to believe. And it's not how disclosure actually works. It's a one-to-one thing usually. It's like in your brain, in your house, in your yard, and then no one can tell you. I mean, unless you doubt your sanity, which is a whole other
Mm.
question, but you know what you know.
Some people might doubt their sanity.
Yeah, it's
You
good
know,
to every now and then, I guess.
It is. But so many people write to me about how do you know you're not going crazy? I said, well, I said, deep down, you know you're not going crazy. I said, on the surface, you're thinking, oh my God, you're losing your mind. And in all fairness, you should. I mean, you're like, okay, an alien took me out of my house, did this, 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 or this to me. Now remember, good recollection. A lot of the people you'll hear come talk to me, friends of mine, they have good recollection, but even they're probably running 30-50%. And there's just that, and just because you don't remember the other 50%, because I've seen that comment, doesn't mean it's all bad. Doesn't mean any of it's bad for that matter. But for some reason or other, they chose either not to let you, or you chose a lot of the stuff you choose. So when you're doing information on board the ship and they're giving you stuff, because Charis is in the age group now that she probably gets access to a lot of different things when she's on board. She's not really being what we would call abducted, experimented on. That's not what goes on. She has just the run of the ship. They may be showing her different things to do or how things work, or let her into what we friendly would call a hologram. But because on a gray ship, especially, you go into your room, it's a cubicle. There's nothing in it. You start thinking about something. Oh, a little bed will pop out, TV pop out, this will pop out, and you're allowed to go have dinner with not just one alien race, but there's all the oxygen breathing races. There's like a ton of them there in the same place. And I've seen the black-eyed kids. Well, I don't call them kids, black-eyed people in there. Now, what's funny about that is, and people don't write to me. Okay, so there is an alien race that looks like us that have black eyes. They're not demons or ghosts. I'm not saying that there's not any. I'm not even going to tell anybody it's not. Okay, so I'm not going to argue with y'all about it because I really don't know. But in this case, they're aliens, and they're a lot like us. They're along the same evolution scale, so we are probably having the same things done to them. But you're allowed to interact with them. I mean, what else is the hell? And then so you could really question your sanity, but the problem is you remember it in real time. It's not an afterthought or it comes back. So like Charis might wake up one morning and all of a sudden there's just a whole complete, it might be a day, it might be a week, it might be a freaking month. but it's just all there, and you can go through it, and then from time to time they reinforce it with downloads of stuff that you've done or things that they want you to know. And if you use it right, like this young lady here has done, it will balance your life out. You don't have to be that sketchy, ditchy, crazy. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! You don't have to be that. I can't. Wait, no, Frank. You're never going to meet a true contactee or abductee who's not empathic. It's a given. Everybody who's been abducted is either empathic or telepathic or both. They may not understand what's going on in their life.
Yeah.
They may go into a room one day and everybody starts crying, or they start crying. They can't figure out why. I think they're going crazy. Mm-hmm. That's because you're either experiencing someone else's emotions or you're transmitting. And if you're a good one, you can literally walk into a room full of people in whatever mood you're in. That's the mood. That's it. They're in that mood.
Yes, that's that inner work. If you can get drained by a bunch of people, or if you get, when I was in high school, I remember one year I went Christmas shopping at the mall and had to come back and sleep all day afterward. Didn't know why until I grew up and realized I was an empath and would think back on those kinds of experiences and be like, oh yeah, it's stressful in the mall at Christmas. And people worried about all kinds of stuff. And I just had to sleep so I could recharge after doing that. But if you can figure out how to maintain your own emotional state around a group, that channel is open both ways. So it'll go back out and soothe the group. And as far as the ETs, the way that it works for me lately, as in the past, I don't know, few years, because at first, of course, you realize this is going on and it's freaky. And your whole view of the world and life majorly shifts, because then you see, oh, they're everywhere, and you say, oh, they've always been around. This is not a new thing, and there's a huge taboo on it. So a lot of more people, I know you, Joe, you and I used to talk about this all the time. A lot more people experience it than are out about it. They'll tell you because of your research, but they can't necessarily come out about it publicly because they're afraid of people being saying they're crazy. And that ship has sailed for me. I'm over that. I'm like, yeah, some people do think I'm crazy, and that is their right. I also know what's going on, and I have enough people who have known all these years that we can kind of fact check and cross analysis.
I can tell y'all now she's not crazy. No. High energy maybe, but not crazy.
Yes. And this is nighttime.
Yes. Oh, she's calm
Catch
right
me
now.
At 7 a.m.
No.
Wow.
She's calm right now, buddy. No, trust me. She's like, you let her loose. She's like,
this is true.
She reminds me of a couple of people I know. No. That's a good thing. I'm not.
You gotta slow it down. Gotta come put the speed at 1x.
She probably has something warm to drink, and we're not going to say what it is.
No, this is tea. This
tea is just bad as coffee.
I will say this honey has a little bit of CBD in it, though.
Oh shit, got some CBD honey.
That could be. Yeah. So I was on the ships the other day because at this point I can kind of tune in and they'll hologram me up. So it's, I mean, of course my body is here, and I don't do it very often because it's not up very often. It doesn't come up very often, but especially preparing for this chat and also seeing the added activity lately, I went up and I was like, so what's going on? And I saw new since the last time I was there, that there are plants like in the hallways of the ships now. It's like, looked like little sconces.
Yeah, it's strange because so a long time ago, when we first started hearing about it, they talked about plants, but they only talked about it in one place, hanging over the tiers going down. Look, if you were tall enough to get over and look, you could see them hanging down. Mm-hmm. But that was the only time I ever heard about it. Now, I didn't even hear about them in people's individual quarters until, I don't know, it wasn't even that long ago, maybe a year, maybe less. And all of a sudden, they did start popping up. And that's got to be because of all the different alien races on there. Want some damn green. Because people, y'all don't understand, the air is you don't smell. It's just clean. Like you don't smell chemicals. You don't smell anything.
I thought it smelled kind of floral in the beginning. I remember thinking it smells kind of like flowers, but I don't see any flowers. So
that's what I think when they first had those gardens hanging over those tiers, because somebody said they were using them from oxidation. They was probably just using them. Well, no telling what they were using them for, but
maybe
I don't even want to guess what they were damn using them for.
Gray water system.
I know it might have been, but for the most part, especially like when they're in different areas, and somebody asked me one time, they said, I was in the cafeteria. And by the way, cafeteria is not what y'all would think a cafeteria is. Okay, it's more like something you'd see on Star Trek, where you walk in and tell it what you want, and it just kind of, it doesn't exactly just appear there, but it comes out of this thing and it's there, and then it's whatever you want. Obviously they've scanned the Earth's food banks because you can eat anything you want, and I doubt it's real steak or real avocado, but it tastes like
3D printed on a molecular level.
But I imagine it's packed full of everything you need as well. But they do seem to get the taste down, because everybody tells me the same thing. It doesn't taste funny or strange. And then you got the option as long as they're like oxygen breathing people like us, you have the option to try their types of food. Which, the first time I heard somebody tell me that, I was like, wait, what? Oh yeah, Joe. He said I was watching this guy eat this thing, and it looked really good. It was some kind of dessert or something. He said it looked really good. So I was like, I asked him what it was, and he told me. So I went and got one. But you're gonna ask a computer if it's well. I think it actually would tell you before you ate it anyway. But they were like, he said it was like a what do you call it? A fudgesicle stuffed inside of a banana, stuffed inside of something or another. Oh, a
Nice.
marshmallow. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, it was too much. He said they must have either they have less taste buds us or more refined ones than we do. He
Mm.
said, but whatever it was, he said it was just too intense. I was like, well, you never know until you try.
Yeah, different strokes, different
That's right.
needs for sugars.
Well, I would imagine people if you're in the contactee roles and not the abductee roles,
Mhm.
and or in one of the upper ones like keepers or
Mhm.
communicators or things like that,
Mhm.
I would imagine right now y'all are getting a fair amount of contact. Some of it sometimes when they step up like that, it kind of worries me sometimes because right now we are kind of trying to start a little war right now. And when they start stepping up their contactees, I always get a little bit worried that they're wanting to make sure they know where everybody's at in case the shit hits the fan. And,
Interesting.
and so that way they know who they got to take, when they got to take them, and how they're going to take them. Except for the people being left behind, they know who everybody is. So I don't really feel like this is the time. I hate saying shit like that, but I really don't have that sense of, oh my God, we're going to all die. Well, for a couple of reasons. One, I've listened to Xi Jinping talk a lot. He doesn't want to die, especially by nuclear fire. It's not him. He don't want his kids or his wife or even his people dying by it. If he can avoid it, Russia really doesn't. But the problem is Putin is stage 4 cancer, and he's got one other disease
Mhm.
besides that. So, or stage 3, I think he is actually. So maybe he doesn't feel the same as everybody else. But I imagine his generals and admirals are going, wait a minute, dude, just because you're dying don't mean you're going to kill everybody else. So,
Right.
and then, oh, Mark, we're not talking about Joe. He's. I'm telling you what. So we used to pick on it because Obama got a bust. In case y'all don't notice, Obama got a busted one time for getting marijuana brought to the White House. So, well, no, it wasn't illegal. No, 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 no. So let me finish the story. So, what happened was this kid. They used to see this kid riding his bicycle, and he used to come by the White House, once every couple of days or so, and they thought he was like bringing food or something. Well, one of the guards stopped and he looked, and he had bags of marijuana. People, marijuana is legal in D.C. It's recreational legal. You don't have to have a prescription. So he actually just said it. He said, no, I was bringing it to Obama. So I'm wondering if old Obama didn't get old Joe high a couple of times and warped his brain because, man, come on, people.
Not
He's,
everybody takes it the same. I mean, he's up there in age too, and has
he's up
had
that
some really
age.
stressful jobs.
And I imagine smoking some really good ganja probably just wipe him out. And no, don't even start with, we have two. I don't care if we got two. Neither one are running the country. How's that? I don't know. I'm a little nervous. He's not the guy to take us into the future. Currently, I don't really see anybody standing up. Maybe DeSantis, and that's a big maybe. I don't even know if he wants to run. Governor Newsom, no, he's not going to be president. No, 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 he's another idiot. Unfortunately, right now, there's just no. We don't need a divider. We need a leader. We need like Charis to run. See, she'd be
Mhm.
good.
Marianne Williamson's running. I like her politics. Like I like
Yeah.
her, reason, ideal.
Well, we need somebody up there who wants to unite and not fight. And
Yeah,
unfortunately, the last time we had presidents like that was Reagan and Clinton. And since then, it's
yeah,
been the opposite. Let's just try to fight.
yeah.
Reagan managed to unite the country. Clinton managed to unite the country. But after that, it's just been, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Bush got lucky for 6 years because we were at war, so the country was kind of like, ooh. But after that, they were like, oh my God, what kind of stupid shit did we get into? And then,
Infighting.
yeah, invited, and then poor Obama came in, and he just never had a chance because he was never taught how to play the game. He was an incumbent senator. I mean, not an incumbent senator. He was a junior senator for 6 months, people, and they threw him into being president. He was screwed. He never had a chance. Well, come on, do you want to go with 6 months experience? Do you want to go fight with McConnell, McDonald, or any of these people? No. And then you had crazy people like Nancy Pelosi telling the country, "Oh no, don't read it, just pass it and read it afterwards." We don't want to hear shit like that. It takes our
It's a
confidence
mess.
away.
The whole
So
thing is a
it
mess.
is. And then you get other crazy, and then you get, oh no, the Republicans are just as crazy as the liberals are. I'm sorry to say, but they
Yes.
are. Well, first off, none of them. No, I wasn't going to say they believe in God because it really doesn't matter. But what I find is, well, I'm not a big religious person. I'm a very big spiritual person, but I'm not a big religious person. And I just don't feel that any of them understand what a freaking spirit even is. I think most of their goals is to crush the damn spirit and life out of everybody and just get them to follow blindly. Yes, we love you. Let's give you money. Let's vote. No
Yeah.
bullshit. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be saying stuff like that.
No, I mean, like once you get to a certain point in these systems, you have to have lost some aspect of your compassion, or else you can't think about people as numbers like that. And being compassionate and collaborative and creative is not the thing that gets you to the top in the current way that it's running. So,
No.
to some extent, it's not even the people. Anyone in that role would be that way because that's the game that you have to play it to get up there. And I think that one of the things that is super important to me is helping to usher in a new way without a really bloody and disruptive dismantling of the old way, like kind of sliding it in
Gonna
gently
be
so that
tough.
is this thing, well, we're working, like it's a long view situation, we're thinking like
Yes.
centuries here, so in many generations. But the concept of, oh, there are big problems that are solvable, there are some problems that aren't solvable, but the way that we argue and bicker in the rooms where people are making decisions wastes a lot of time. But being able to change that, it's paradigm shifts that their brains are not necessarily designed to flip into the new way yet.
I did a lecture about 6 months ago on mankind, and a company wrote to me and said, we would like you to do this, and we'd like you to do it. And then I got to do the presentation at Tulane University. So Tulane's an Ivy League college. So they asked me if I would do a comparison of man today versus a comparison of man, say, 5,000 years ago. So if you remove the technology, we're still the same morons we were 5,000 years ago.
Yes.
I hate to be the one to break this to you people.
True.
I mean, after intensive study, we're still fighting with each other. We're still doing stupid shit. Do you realize in the last 10 years, we have spent, not us, but the world has spent over $10 trillion on war, on just weapons. That's not even the wars. That's not rebuilding. That's anything. That pushes it well over 100 trillion. Do you know how many diseases we could have cured for $100 trillion? Cancer would be a thing of the past. Do you realize for the last 50 years, if all we would concentrate on is get rid of these diseases, most of them would be gone? But no, we want to go spend, and then wait, even better, we're going to go spend $1 million to shoot down a balloon. I'm like, now, yeah, the one that went to DC should have been shot down in Alaska, but people, can't we use machine gun bullets? I mean, do we have to go use expensive missiles to shoot down balloons? And shouldn't we know that there is a balloon over the United States to start off with? I mean, come to God.
Somebody dropped the ball.
I mean, really. I mean, all that showed me. So this scared me for one reason, people. So most people didn't realize this, but this balloon that went through South Carolina was close enough to drop a nuke on D.C. Now, D.C. was in Congress that week. Congress was in session. So you had the House, the Senate, you had the president and the vice president of one. Do you realize if someone had dropped a nuke and killed all of them, who would have been taken over? We would have been in disarray. We would have been conquered in a day. I mean, who would have took over? I mean, who I mean, if everybody's there, who the hell takes over? It's got to be, I guess, like the Secretary of Navy or somebody. I don't know. But do y'all want to be under military dictatorship? No, we need to not be stupid anymore. Yes, Carol, it could be because he's paid off, but nobody really knows that. So we're gonna leave that alone. We'll see what happens when his son gets in front of the DA in New York.
That'll be interesting.
What? The only thing what do you mean? The only thing I didn't like about Hunter Biden that his daddy jumped on his brother's wife and married her a year after he was dead. That just grossed me out. Grossed me out about both of them. I was like, wow. Well, that means there was an attraction before he died.
Definitely.
Yeah, there was definitely some kind of attraction there before he died. Hunter is a hoe dog. He reminds me of myself when I was like 25 or something. I mean, come on, he was a hoe dog. I have never said I was an angel when I was young, people. I was in good shape. I just got out of the Navy, at Special Forces. I was a hoe dog, I ain't gonna lie. And
things.
That's right. Not that kind of hoe dog. I was like hoe dog, like eating food and stuff. Mm-hmm.
No comment.
Anyway. No, we're just teasing.
Yeah, I mean, It's the long view thing, the human evolution thing. How are we figuring it out?
I'm hoping we're going to learn something out of something.
Yeah.
I get disgusted because I was telling a good friend of mine this other day. I said, "This is 2023. We still have starving people in our country. We still have starving people in the world."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "How can we have homeless people when we have at least 10 places to live for every person alive in our country?" I said, I
Exactly.
don't understand. I said, "No, I understand. We don't want to go giving, hobo people, multi-million-dollar hotels, but we don't have to. There's other places to go." I
Mm-hmm.
said, "Why don't the government just buy these and extend them to these?" I said, "Look, I know." I said, "Look, I do know some people like living on the rough." I said, "I've talked to a few of these. I've done some interviews, and they prefer to live that way, and that's all fine. But
Mm-hmm.
the overall majority don't. No, the
Mm-hmm.
aliens are not going to take them because obviously they're not contactees."
Have to, or some of them are, but they're doing their job. I drove by this guy in Portland one time, sitting on a corner doing this kind of thing with his hands,
No
like.
shit.
And I looked at him and I was like, "Oh yeah, he's like something doing something in another dimension." I could tell that it was legit in this dimension. He was a homeless dude though, and so
Hmm?
you're like, "Well, more power to you, whatever you're doing." I
Well,
mean, good.
oh no, I was just thinking that how many sightings that the government's actually signed off on in the last 2 years and how much difference it's made. None, but still,
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
don't. I'm confused about one thing. Maybe I mean you've been in the media for a long time. Why isn't our mainstream media? So if this would have happened 10 years ago, and or even if Trump would have said it, or Obama would have said it, or Bush would
Mhm.
have said it, the government would have went ape shit. They'd have been all over it. With Trump, they would just said he was crazy. But with the other guys, they would have said, "Oh well, maybe there is something going on." But with Joe Biden, they're just ignoring it. You don't see it on NBC, ABC, CBS. Nobody wants to talk about it. What are they scared? The aliens going to come get him if they talk about it?
I think they just don't. I think it's the taboo. I think it's the crazy taboo, and they don't want to be the ones who are discredited
But I mean,
because they're.
with the Pentagon signing off on, I mean, shit, you can't get better source than that.
I know, but I don't know because on one hand you would think because the news likes to scare people, right? That's what's going to get them
That's
ratings.
what they do.
So you would think that because a lot of people might get really scared depending on what movies they've seen about
Oh, that's
aliens.
true too. I mean, a lot of them will get scared. Unfortunately, they're
Right.
going to be scared.
Right. And I have heard that that's why there isn't more that comes out, depending on how you want to look at it, because they don't want mass hysteria. But also, what I've seen is when the drip disclosure has happened and when pieces of disclosure have come out, most people don't care. Most people who aren't interested in that are like, well, yeah, whatever. Or, oh, I could see that. So I'm not sure exactly how the agendas are going at cross purposes, but it is obvious that they are. Like all the time, different countries come out with
Well,
different documents, and it just doesn't gain traction in the common mind.
I mean, we talked about desensitization of the people for since I've been in public speaking. We've been talking about it longer than that, but I've been in public speaking for 30 years. But I've been in the field for I don't know 35, 40.
Mhm.
God, that long? Jesus, somebody shoot me, shit! And I'm retired, man. What do you
Just getting
mean, Jamie?
started.
Jamie goes, "Wait, you been in this field 40 years and you're only 41? What, you started?" Yeah, that's right, baby. Right out the womb, let's start it.
Day one,
You got it. You got it.
you
Right
had a
out the
clock.
womb. Oh, Jesus. Y'all people are rude, man. That's all I can say. No, but, we started talking about desensitization because I was sitting with some ufologists, and this was before I didn't even, I was barely into the field. I
Mhm,
just started really learning about alien abductions.
mhm,
I just met Walt Anders, and I had noticed, I started thinking that when I was a kid, you'd see all these stupid Disney cartoons, and there was always some kind of alien in them, blowing up something, coming from somewhere, but there was always some alien somewhere. And then I started thinking about the shows out of the 50s, and there were ridiculous amounts of aliens in the 50s and 60s. Um, and some of the big shows that turned into bigger shows now came out of those things like Star Trek and
mhm,
Lost in Space and Forbidden Planet. All of them, they were, back then they were kind of campy, but they were just alien after alien after alien after
mhm.
alien. And then here we get into the 70s and it's an alien fest. Jesus, the 90s and 2000s. I mean, it's just, every other movie got an alien in it. So,
Mhm.
and some of the more fun ones like Marvel and DC, they're putting out. I mean, it's alien out the yin yang. So we are really desensitized to this. We have become to the point where if John Alien was standing on the street, we'd think it was a prop. It'd be
Mhm.
like, that's not an alien. Get the hell out of here. When he lasers your ass, then you'd be thinking about it. But bzzz, or when he pulls out his lightsaber and chops you in half. Um,
So here's a question. Here's a question, Joe. I have my thought, but I'd love to know
yeah.
yours. In the media, what are the depictions of ETs that are the most accurate to you?
Oh my God, I don't know if there is any.
Like the closest you can get. I got a couple in my mind, but I want to see what you say.
I'm trying to think. I really can't think of any names right off of
Mm.
my head. Let me think. I mean, I've seen some good artwork. I just can't think who they belong to at the moment. But
Mm-hmm.
there are some pictures we had put on the Alien Enigma site that are really, really close pictures of the graves. Oh, you know who did a good job with the graves?
Mm.
Was Taken in Steven Spielberg. Just parts of it, not the whole scenes though.
Mm.
So part of it they did really good, and part of it they did kind of cheesy, like them climbing up the side of the walls or walking on the ceiling. They do shit like that, you know.
They're so disconcerting sometimes.
I know it's just it's just the thing they do. No, people, it's like us walking on the ground. They just do it. You're like, whoa, wait, what? Whoa, wait a minute.
I mean, like insects can do that. Like
Yeah,
squirrels can run up the trees and
it's
stuff.
it's
They're
kind of creepy
fucking
weird. After you see it a few
mm,
times, it's not as bad. But I mean, the
mm,
first couple of times, you're kind of like, what the hell? And then he also showed them where they were very protective over their contactees, especially with Millab screwing around with them. And I've said this 100 times, ladies and gentlemen. If you're in one of the Millab fields out there, which I know quite a few people listen to us that are, it's dangerous. I mean, if you pick on
mhm,
the wrong contactee, you liable to end up cat food. As politely as I can say it. I mean, they don't. I have heard of Millab people going missing, not the contactee, the Millab person, the
mhm,
people involved. I've had several under hypnosis people reveal that they were screaming and panicking. They even got to the point where they were calling their alien, and then there was a big white light, and then everybody was going with them. It sounds like something out of damn Stargate, like when Thor shows up. It's
mm,
but it's weird, and I've heard it a couple of dozen times. So obviously, they have an interest in protecting their people, and anybody who is willing to go out there and speak about this, or has advanced knowledge of different things, or willing to learn. And see, in the old days, I would say like Charis and us and other people I know would be in danger. Not so much today because we're so
right,
public.
right,
That's a lot harder for them to just come and do it. And the fact that the ETs want people out there talking about this. They don't even care if you're 100% accurate. They just want people to know that there's something going on. Now, understand this, non-contactee people. They don't so much care what happens to y'all as they do what happens to their contactees. I don't want to be rude about this. Well, so let's say there was a nuclear war. More than likely, they would remove their contactees, and the rest of these bitches would burn. So, I'm just
well, and it
what?
happens so subtly too. I mean, so subtly. There have been times where I was hiking in a national forest and I was like, "Oh, I'm on a ship right now." I
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
I was coming into a national forest, and at some point I must have walked through a doorway that was just blended in with the rest of it. You hear about like the stairwells in the forest and stuff like that. I don't know that the stairwells are an ET thing. I do know it's a multidimensional thing, but it's really subtle. And I think we have already gone through a few different, you can call them timeline splits or like
Oh, I'm sure
rewinds,
we have.
and
Well,
you don't even know. You might feel a little weird as it's happening, but that
so
could also be a solar flare, or that
well
could also
about
be a geomagnetic issue.
but
So,
about every 10th or 15th contactee of me, maybe 20, it might be 20, I don't know.
mhm,
I can't really put a number on it. Have the ability to see across the veil. And people, when I use the term veil, I use this lightly. It could be a dimensional barrier. It could be a lot of
mhm,
different things. But they can see across. And what's weird is sometimes when they look across, they just see whatever's going on. It might not necessarily be where they're at. And sometimes they see across as where they're standing. It's just another version of them or another version of life from where that point of view here is. So it's a very
mhm,
strange thing. And sometimes they can be the one. So they might be the one. They could actually be talking to their selves on the other side, consoling them because they lost their father, even though their father in this life is still alive. On that side, it's dead. But they could be over
mhm,
there consoling him, and they could mistake it for a lot of different things. So the person, may be thinking it's dad or mom or something when it's just someone else trying to help out or you trying to help out. So, or sometimes you may witness this happening, seeing this individual's dad talking to them and noticing that they're still alive. It's just another dimensional bleed through. So it gets complicated. It's not that ghosts don't exist. It's not that other things that go on. But when you start getting into the multiverse, things get really complicated
me too.
fast.
It's a whole other way of educating yourself and checking for accuracy. Like,
hmm
I teach people to hone their intuition. That's one of the things,
Yeah,
and
that's a
not
big
every
deal.
yeah, I mean, well, it's like I feel like music talent. You can be taught how to play an instrument if you don't have any natural ability, or you can have natural ability and never be taught, or you can have both. You
Yeah.
can have a feel for it and then hone it over time. So with intuition, one of the things is check for accuracy, write it down, come back and check on your list and see if you were right so you can learn which feelings you can trust and which ones you can't.
That's a good thing to do. I mean, you, the more you understand yourself and understand the environment, the safer you're going to be when you get into those situations. And
Mhm.
like I said, people, not everybody can see across the veil. And some people have the ability to, if someone's actually got a veil point open, some people have the ability to see at that point that it's open. So they
Mhm.
can share the sight. But, crossing over is a dangerous thing. First off, can you come back? Maybe, maybe not. You should be able to. If you can open it one way, you should be able to open it the other way. But when you get to the other side, or you're coming back to this spot, when you open it up,
Mm,
see,
mhm.
it gets really just risky. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it
And
does.
then I unwittingly started the big argument about it about 2 years ago when I brought this up. They were talking about reincarnation. I said, well, wait, I'm confused. I said, we have a multiverse. What do we need reincarnation for? And they're like, well, what are you talking about? You can be reincarnated. I said, but why do you need to be if you have the multiverse? And they're like, what? I said, there's a you in every universe. Everything that you could ever possibly do or think of is happening in this multiverse. So when they all die, don't they just snap back to one soul? So what do you need? And see, I
I see
don't
it like
know.
putting on clothes. It's like every day you wear a different outfit, but it's
Yes,
always
it's
you,
it's
you know?
it is, and it's strange, and it's So, do you really need to have reincarnation if you have the multiverse? So you might just transfer into another dimension when you die in this one, or
Mhm.
according to whatever place you are in your existence, you may be transitioned into those. So there may already be preset lines after you to transfer, and depending on what you've learned here and how far you've progressed. But then you don't need reincarnation, do you? It's a whole different system. So that gets really screwy really
Mhm,
fast.
and different people are at different spots on it. Like, I can
Yes.
remember I've done past life stuff, and I can remember being here helping to set things up for the game, like for the Earth game. Because if you think about it in ages of humans or humanoids doing something specific on Earth, whatever that special sauce on Earth is, that is the thing that's so interesting about us and the thing that we're evolving into or creating. um it had to get set up before. So for people like me, and there's a lot of us running around, we've
There's a
been
lot
here
of them.
from then and we're still here, and we're helping to steward it in our lane. There's like a bunch of stuff going on that's
Yeah.
not we're not doing, but in this particular view. And so coming lifetime to lifetime, I think keeps a beat on what's going on, and you can pop into a body and send the project forward or not, or whatever.
Well, I would imagine now that we understand the multiverse, I would imagine that someone who has learned how to use most of their abilities could move forward, backwards, or sideways.
I
Uh,
think so.
so, I mean, I'm not saying. I guess you'd have to make the determination where you're going according to where you are right at the moment. But still, I would think a contactee who's actually recognized their gifts early on. The earlier, so in layman's terms, the earlier you learn how to do this, the more power you gain as you get older. As long as you don't stop somewhere along the line, you start to evolve more abilities. But you got to remember not to question yourself. What happens to a lot of people, they get a lot of good gifts and they're really, really good gifts. And then they start questioning themselves because it starts to scare them. They start knowing
Or
what their
scared
neighbors
people around
thinking.
them. Yeah.
You are scared people around you, and you start knowing what everybody's thinking, what's going on, or you start putting thoughts in people's heads because you want something particular. Those kind of things can really turn into a habit or something bad. So it's a big fight. And
Yeah.
and but one thing good about it, I think one thing the contactee base will teach society, as long as we don't get destroyed, is that they will be the first ones that are being each other's heads all the time. So you'll have 15% of the world's population, which today would be about 1.7 billion. If they were all in the same areas all the time, they would constantly be in each other's heads. So they would learn not to lie because they would know instantly if somebody was lying.
Yeah.
Eventually, you might learn how to shield it, but that's still a couple hundred years away. But right
Mhm.
now, you would just learn, to go through life, and most noises would become background noise, just like when you're driving in your car or doing anything else. But you would know instantly if somebody was lying, or somebody was bullshitting you. So the society, that at least that part of society, would become much more open. And really and truly, when you look at the contactee society, well, Frankie, it's not just the RH negative people; it's the contactees. So, yeah, unfortunately or fortunately, the majority of contactees are RH negative, but all together, at least 35% are RH positive. So you have to remember that you can't throw them out. And, well, that's not enough. Well, 35% of 6 billion is more than you think it is, isn't it? So when you talk about 15% of RH negative, they're only 15% of the world's population to start off with. So that's all they can pull is 15%. But 35% of the other, what, 85% left is a big chunk. That's what, that's a lot of people. 2 billion, 2.5 billion. So it's actually more than there is of the Rh negative people. It's just, it gets confusing because people always, they always hear, well, there's way more contactees that are Rh negative. That is true. But you have to remember how many Rh positive people there are in the world when you start doing a comparison. So
Yeah, and RH is really new, right? There were contactees and hybrids before RH was a thing. So,
yeah.
yeah, and we've been coming into the same genes. Like, it's a marker, but it's like saying, so good example, right? You want to spot a person who has extrasensory abilities, and you see someone who has pale skin, really dark hair, and really bright eyes. And you're like, that person is probably move some stuff around if they want. They may or may not be aware of it, and it's not a one-to-one match. It's not like every single person you see like that is a witch or whatever call you, but there's a correlation there. There's a big correlation there. So I feel like it's like that with the blood types. Like, I think of every blood type, just like of every race, just like of every gender. It's a sample size that's kind of across the board.
Yeah. The only thing that makes Rh negative special to anybody is the fact that it didn't exist
Mm-hmm.
until 35,000 years ago. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to remember, people, for 2 million years or 1.5 million years, whichever evolution theory you want to take, we were brown eyed, brown haired, brown skinned. We weren't dark skinned. We weren't light skinned. Matter of fact, this is the race they're predicting that we're going back to, by the way. So they're saying in 2,000 years, we'll go back to a mostly brown eyed, brown haired, brown skinned race. Now, no, what I'm talking about is exactly what I'm saying. We're not talking about black skin. We're not talking about white skin. We're talking about
And
just brown
commingle.
skin. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
it's just where the planet plateaus out at. Well, what do you mean? Well, frankly, because there's more black people than white people on the planet, dummy. So, well,
Well,
being,
everyone will mix together. You just think
yeah, it's
of
just
the
what it's going to
hodgepodge
be.
of person. It's
Well,
yeah.
just to help you out, I got a good friend of mine, which I give trouble, and I shouldn't. I'm not going to bring up the stuff I tell her because she's a good friend of mine, and she's from West Africa. Now she's blacker than my shirt. I'm not kidding you. And I always pick on her. I used to tell her stuff like, "Please keep your eyes open so I know where your ass is at in the dark." Because I mean, a girl. But the reason I bring this up is if you meet people in America today, they're not going to look like that. I have not seen people from when I was in school. There was a few, but more and more and more, the skin color is getting lighter and lighter and lighter. It's gotten to such a point now that even my black friends talk about different colors of black or different shades. So it's a strange thing. So it just shows that we're already moving back in that direction. It's going to take 10,000 years or so, but we're moving back in that direction. It's just going to take over, and there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, it's just the natural process of things like
Yeah,
genetics. And now we can travel across the world. It's really been just
yeah,
the past couple generations that we could even travel
and
like we can now.
yeah. So yeah, when we were Pandora, not Pandora, sorry.
Ching.
Wrong thing. When we were Pangea, yeah, that's who we were. And now that we are really going to be open society again, where everybody can move around, with maybe the exception of Russia, everybody can move around. And the more we take advantage of that, and the cheaper it gets and easier, and eventually we'll have really fast flights, or we'll have some type of transportation system. But regardless, we'll be going back and forth. So if you want to have dinner in Paris, it won't be a big deal. You'll be over there in 5-10 minutes.
Mhm.
Same thing if you live in Africa, if you live in South America, if you live in the United States, it won't matter. So it'll open up our societies, and hopefully the borders will be gone by then, and then it'll just be a nice, peaceful society.
Yeah, it's
Well,
more
because
silliness, the border issues. Like, we're all the same
yes, we're
people.
all the
We're
same
just
people.
hanging out on this planet. We don't have
I haven't seen
much.
anybody I have met that don't bleed red, people. I'm just saying,
Right,
if
right.
you start bleeding
Silly.
another color, I'm gonna get worried anyway. But it's
Some people do.
I see
On the
gold coming
basketball
out of there.
court, you see that
Yeah.
video of the guy who bled orange or yellow,
Oh
one of his
shit!
hands?
I'd be like, okay, you're an alien. Come with us, buddy.
Mhm.
We're
Pretty
taking you
much.
to the alien place.
Nothing to see here.
Um, no, well, if you go to Africa, yeah, it's a big difference. But it's a whole different world. It's like going to the middle of South America. It's a whole different world than it is here.
Yeah.
People just don't realize that. Well, I got a lot of friends from there. I got some of my favorite friends are actually from Kenya, and they listen to us on one cell phone. 7 of them get together, and they started doing this now. They listen to us in groups. Well, it's not so much that they can't get more cell phones, but it overtaxes the towers. Yeah, well, it's just growing. People give them time. They're catching up with the rest of the world. And you'd be surprised all around the world, even in the Americas, there's just places that they don't even know what electricity is.
Yeah, I
It's
mean, yeah, and even our country, the US is huge. There's so
yeah.
many countries in one. There's so many empty space. I've driven cross country probably around 30
Oh
times at
yeah.
this point, and most of it is empty space. And there's a lot of different nations in this one nation. Mostly we speak the same language, but that's even questionable sometimes.
Oh, actually, Mark Nozubi is a really good friend of mine. I've been knowing her since she was 17. She moved from West Africa to Europe, and she still actually has a British accent. She still uses all those quirky British terms. She's been here a long time now, for almost 30, 35 years. She went to nursing school in New York, couldn't get a job. Finally found a job in Philadelphia, worked for about a year. She said, screw this. She went to go be a nurse practitioner. So she went to school for that, and she did that. Now she's a full-fledged doctor with 2 PhDs. She's serious, but she, believe it or not, likes to work in clinics. She has a regular career, but she likes to work at clinics to help out people at her cost, out of her pocket. So she's a good woman. What can I tell you? And no, we're good friends. We we used to fight all the time when she was going to school. I'm like, bitch, you better get your shit straight, or you're gonna be living out in the damn gutter. Now get it together, girl. She comes from a fairly wealthy family, does. I mean, but I used to give her shit all the time. She said, if my dad don't walk down the aisle with me, will you? I'm like, nope. I said, you ain't getting me shot. Get the hell out of here with that idea. They'd be like, what? No. Well, it's just one of those things. But today, what do you mean Africa don't get UFO sightings? What are you on, smoking crack?
The Dogon people.
I know. What? I mean, Egypt. Okay, people, y'all get confused. Y'all forget the Middle East is in Africa. Yes, yeah. In case y'all didn't know that, the Middle East, like Egypt and places like that, are in Africa. But it's not just that. I mean, there's South Africa's actually been a lot. But you have to remember, Central and kind of on the West and Kenya, they're not up to. Well, there was a bunch of schools where UFOs were said to come in and take a bunch of kids out of school in several countries down there. Just come down, and somebody knew about it because the people came out and lined them up, and then they took them away. This was going on in the late 90s and early 2000s. There was at least a dozen of these cases like this. And but the thing of it down there is there still hasn't got to the technological levels we are, where everybody's got a phone, everybody's got a camera, everybody's got a newspaper. It's not like that yet. It's getting there. Another 50, 100 years, and most of the world will be caught up. But it takes time, and you got to have money. Poor countries don't have money. You have to have money to do all these upgrades. I agree. We should go over there and upgrade everybody. But well, look at Bill Gates. He brought the internet to India. So what can you say? He brought the internet and vaccinations to India. How will he be remembered is what I want to know. I'm curious. What kind of UFOs did you see? Where are you? Norfolk? Okay, so tell me what you saw in Norfolk. You need to come in where I can see another. Anyway, I can see it. Go ahead. So Norfolk, Virginia, right? As I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's like an hour from me.
Yes, and I've been in Norfolk myself. So what did you see? So okay. So y'all were working at East Dock. All right, okay. I know what you're talking about. I've been on the East Dock before. Yeah, we used to go hang out there and smoke cigarettes. Yes, really, cigarettes. But anyway, no, people, you always got your mind in a gutters, I swear. So you've seen a underwater UFO, a submersible, and it came up to the East Dock, sat there for a few minutes. You said it reminded you of the Pascagoula experience when it came out of the water and just sat over us for a few minutes, and then it slowly drifted away and disappeared. Okay, well, I've heard about that. So what's the rest of it? I said, I know, because I know you just, I mean, that's a great story, but I know there's something else here I can just tell by the way you're typing. How long? There was a 4-hour discrepancy. So they're all sitting there. Matter of fact, they got in trouble because they thought they were somebody. They went looking for them for a barracks change, and they thought they were AWOL. And they found you sitting on the dock, still working, right? Yeah. And they asked you why you were still working, and you said, "Well, we still have 2 hours to go." And the lieutenant looked at you. I bet you the lieutenant did look at you like you was stupid. Did you see when stuff like that happens, you need to go around and ask other people in the base if they saw strange lights, or if you know anybody who works the radar towers, because Norfolk's got 2 different radar towers. You can go in there and ask them, or you can request. You can send up a request and ask them. No, them guys will tell you if they see something strange, because most of the people who work radar are weird anyway. No, they are. They are always a little quirky. I guess when you got to sit in front of them and watch millions of planes go by, it makes you a little crazy. It's No, they're some of the best people to ask because they will tell you if they've seen something that showed up on radar and disappeared off of radar. I mean, usually when you see a UFO, it doesn't go on radar anyway, but it never hurts to ask. Might have been one of ours. Any marks, bruises, noses, any weird dreams? You're just getting flashes, nothing else. You get a flash and then you wake up. Your wife said get help or she's going to divorce you, huh? Oh no, I can understand it. Well,
Yeah, I
remember,
mean,
first off, not this is hard when you're find out that you're a contactee and your spouse isn't. It's not easy. First off, are
mhm.
you going to tell them?
Can
Ooh,
their brains handle it?
yeah. Can their brains handle it?
Mm.
My wife or my husband is seeing aliens or being taken by aliens. Good, bad, or indifferent contact. That's a hard
Or
pill
all
to
the
swallow.
above.
Or all
Mhm.
the above, yes. Which probably is what it is all the above. Um, I don't know, dude. You
Well,
haven't
it depends
told her is
on
what you're telling me, right? Yeah,
yeah,
you
it
haven't
depends on
told
how open her mind is. Like some people
her.
really can't take it. I've seen people rewrite their memories within an hour of
Oh yeah.
seeing stuff, and because their brains just weren't that plastic.
Put her. Does she watch paranormal TV or anything? Or are y'all into any kind of paranormal? So you're just basically military guy who likes to watch sports, go out with his friends, and hang out. Oh, she's in the military too. Oh no, she's. I wouldn't tell her. This is up to you. Okay. This is what I would do. I would figure out a way. I would start investigating this and figure out a way to incorporate this. If this is what really happened to you, you need to learn how to incorporate this in your life. As far as telling the missus, because you have kids, is iffy skiffy. Unless she shows, maybe watch some abduction TV with her and see how she reacts.
Or
Because,
ancient
dude,
aliens, that's
or
far
Ancient Aliens,
enough.
that's good. As a matter of fact, you
Like
can see me on Ancient Aliens. I'm on there a few times. And but I over the years, I've met enough people that have gone through this particular scenario that I would rather them err on the side of caution. Oh no, when I was in my 30s, I'd be telling you, tell her. No, that was the wrong thing. Yeah, I can admit when I was wrong, and I would err on the side of caution. You're in love. You're still in love. Plan on having another kid. I
yeah,
would.
not everybody needs to know everything. The way that I think about it is like it's an area of specialization or fascination, like a hobby. And so if you were really into building model airplanes or something, and your spouse hated the way the glue smelled and the paint smelled and never wanted to come in there when you were working on it, you wouldn't drag them in there to hang out with you because you like building the model airplanes. And I know that being a contactee is a little more intense than that, but I mean, I had a marriage fall apart because of it.
It's not an easy thing to deal with.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Not for
Because
everyone.
as your life changes and progresses, and you start to put this in your life. So when I first met Charis, that's what she was kind of in the middle of doing is figuring out where all of this needed to be, where she
Mhm.
needed to be, and all of this is probably a better way of saying it.
Yeah.
And it's hard. People, it's not easy. You're going to make mistakes. Certain spouses are just not going to deal with this. They just
Mhm.
can't. They
Yeah, their
don't want to
brains can't
accept.
take
Yeah,
it.
they can't accept the fact that there's something other than them in the universe. And I can't understand that. Humans need to feel like we're special, but I need to know the truth, so I couldn't hide it anyway. So
Special just like everybody else.
yes, the rest of us lunatics on the planet. It's just I would just no, really, I would err on the side of caution. That's the best advice I could give you because
And you can float questions. You can be like,
yeah.
"Hey, if I saw a UFO, would you wanna know?"
Or should I tell anybody or something along those lines?
Yeah.
It's what she might ask. I wouldn't tell her you were taken though, or you're having flashes yet. Look,
Probably
I
wait
tell
till
you
she
what, if you need hypnosis or stuff, we have people in Virginia. Charis is over there. You can talk
I
to her.
am
But I
in
mean,
Virginia.
but if you just write to me, my email is iCarCox.net, and we can. I mean, look, if you start to go through flashes, because more than likely, if you're going through flashes and something you've seen, your mind is rebuilding and is able to deal with. So most people, you got to remember this: 98% or 97% of all the people who get taken never remember anything. They get some like weird dream or something, but it just never makes any sense to them, and they never follow it. But I got to warn you about this as well. When you stick your nose in this past a certain point, there is there's no going back. No, I'm sorry, there's just no going back. Whatever it costs you, there is no going back. So you need to figure out how to incorporate it into your life. It's not that hard. and you need to figure out what your abilities were because those can be incorporated in life. If you're an empathic, you can always tell what people are thinking about you, or feeling about you when they're around. It's nice. It can be confusing sometimes, but it's also nice. What do you mean, like for dating? That's dangerous. No, you can use it for that, but that's just dangerous
Yeah, any
because
kind of
feelings can be.
manipulation.
Yeah, but I'm not even meaning that. I mean, because sometimes certain feelings can be mistaken. Somebody might have a high admiration for you, but not actually, want that kind of relationship with you. So you got to be careful with that, and you don't want to mess up a good relationship because you thought it was something else. Oh no, you'll learn the difference. No, you mean getting hit on? Pfft, my wife still hits me in the head for shit like that. She no, I'm no, I because most of the time it's like I ignore it. I put it on the side. No, well, I've always been like that since I was young. I don't know what that is. Naivety, stupidity, maybe. I really don't know. Oh, you mean for a girl would have to say, hey, baby, I'm gonna take you out. Then if really, I'm just being honest, because it's the kind of person I am. I used to tell my friends all the time, don't be shy if a girl asks you out. Don't be weird. Don't freak out about it. I mean, first time somebody sent me roses, I didn't know what to think. I really didn't. There was like 4 dozen too. I was like, what the? I
Wow.
really thought they were from my mom, actually. I was like, oh,
I never got
who
4
the hell?
dozen roses.
I'm like, who the hell sent you this, mom? I'm like, what the hell is this? And she looks at it, she said, have you read the card? I said, no, it's your rose. She said, it ain't mine. And I read the card. I was like, oh, shit, I didn't know what to think. I was like, oh, I was kind of embarrassed, to be honest with you. I really
Oh, I
didn't know what
love
to
somebody
say.
sent you roses. That's awesome.
I was like, but anyway, it was a strange thing. No, come to find out later on in life, because we're still friends, that she is a contactee. And that's another problem. When contactees work closely together, they can develop feelings for each other. Now, some of them turn into actual relationships. I've got to say, all the contactees I personally know that got married are still married. Some of them are going on 15 years now.
Wow.
It's something about it. I think because there's a common bond there. There's something else going on. I think it's like a camaraderie. It's more than just a marriage. It's much deeper than that. Plus, generally, contactees are what they are. They're empathic. So when you hook up with a relationship, when you're both empathic, it's much more intense. The emotions are much more intense. It can hurt way more if you split up. But for
Mhm.
everything else, it can be much more intense. Everything else, whatever goes on in your life, from going out and drinking to just sitting on the couch talking, everything can be 5, 10, 15 times more intense. Yes, that can be else too. I knew you were going to say that because you're a pervert, but um, still, but no, really and truly, everything can be enhanced quite a bit.
Mhm.
So that's the advantage. And there's other advantages, but just some disadvantages when you're always in each other's head. Like when people are answering your questions for you, I'm like, stop it. Well, you were going to say, I don't give a shit. What I'm going to say, let me say it. No. I'm like, yeah, no, let me say it. No, it's crazy. It's kind of fun and crazy. It's not just that. And I should have known growing up in a family I did, because my mom always knew where I was at. Anytime the phone rang, somebody knocked on the door, she'd say such and such a call, and so I'd be friends of mine. Oh, that girl you were waiting for just is calling you right now. I'm like, Mom, get out of here. Girl ain't calling me. As a friend, how did she know this? She used to make me crazy, man. And then I'd be out somewhere, and she'd call me, or I'd call and say I'm at such, and she said, don't lie to me. I know exactly where you are. I'm like, Mom, there's no way you can know where I'm at. And she'd say, I'm like, shit, how does she know where? She got a tag on me or something? Oh, man, this is
Got
back in
that
the
psychic
70s, man.
tag.
No, I was like, it used to make me crazy. But, my grandmother's telling me, oh, I always knew where your mom was, what kind of tomfoolery she was up to. She said, I called at the bar one time when she was 16. I said, I know you're there, Pam. Get your ass home. And my mom was like, how did she know I was there? Nobody knew I was there. I was like, oh my God. I said, you probably knew that because it's the only bar probably within 100 miles. Oh, I don't know. It was a weird family to grow up with, is all I can tell you. They're always in each other's business. I'm like, stop, people, stop. Or if somebody come over to my house to pick me up or something, because it was weird. Every now and then girls wanted to pick me up, which was strange. So my mom would be like, is she going to pick me up in a Mercedes? Who is she? I'm like, it's just a girl I met, Mom. Her daddy owns Isaac Mercedes Benz. Got nothing to do with the car. We're just friends. It ain't even like what you think. Oh no, I know what's on her mind. I'm like, what do you mean you know what's on her mind? Well, please enlighten me, so I know what's on her mind. I was like, but you know how moms are. Even if they don't know, they're gonna tell you that anyway. No shit. No, moms are great. What are y'all talking about? Everybody should have a good mom. I met Charis. She's got a good mom.
Yeah, my mom's great. You met my sister too.
Yeah, I met your sister. Sister's great too.
Yeah.
Oh, everybody in the family's bright as can get out. Yeah, they're all brilliant.
I'm the only one who hangs out with aliens.
They,
Well, I mean, they
well, still don't
do.
matter.
They just forget my mom always loved Star Trek. I've been like, that's probably how I got in all those
That's right.
Star Trek.
Blame it.
people
That's right.
watching.
Blame it on mom. I agree with you. Blame it on mom. Let's blame it on mom.
We've been incarnating in this line a long time, I
No,
suspect. Yeah.
what do you mean, Jackie? How much? Well, there has been a lot more act. Wait, we'll go ahead with you. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just seen that comment go by.
Oh no, what they say?
Oh, wait, she's just saying about the amount of. She feels like there's more abductions going on. So it's not necessarily more abductions. It's more contact. It's a little bit different.
Yes.
It's more of
Consent versus non-consent.
Yeah, it's
and
more
drama.
of consent, and it's more of let me know what you're doing. It's more like making sure you're okay. It's more like just like checking up. There's not really big experiments going on or anything like that. It just seems to be. It's more like, hey, it's been a couple of weeks since you've been on the ship. Why don't you stop by, check us out?
Yeah.
Maybe they're refreshing their tags. I don't know what it is.
Giving you system upgrades.
Yeah.
I mean, the main piece of advice I have for people who are getting contacted is be cool, stay calm. There's a reason in the Bible the angels are always like, don't freak out. Don't freak out. That whole be not afraid. Well, that's Bible for don't freak out.
That's
But
right.
the human, I don't know if it's something that's genetic enough in us. I've heard a theory that it's that, and I've also heard theories that it's just programmed into us by our media and stuff. That when something happens that really cracks our paradigm, like seeing a gray or whatever, that your fight or flight can go really crazy. And then you're more likely to, it's not going to stop the abduction if you get violent or whatever. I've been there. It's not going to stop it, but you might not be able to remember it then, and you won't be able to have like consensual conversation, and they'll just knock you out. So
plus, you may
cool.
found bruised fingerprints on your arms or legs or thighs or
I
something.
always would see the day after, even to now, the day after I get taken, I'll see like I'll have some kind of little cut or slice or something, like a little paper cut somewhere on my hands that will heal within like an hour or two of waking up. That's one of the markers. I've been like, oh, something happened. I was
Something
somewhere.
happened. Yeah, something got you. What do you mean she looks like a reptilian? Who looks like a reptilian? She does not look like a reptilian. Get out of here. Well, whatever you smoking, you need to share with the rest
not
of
all
us.
reptilians are bad. I actually have a hybrid of a lot of different things. It's been very confusing, my Starseed journey. But yeah,
technically, so yeah, that's it's interesting you said that because in the early days it was just the Greys were abducting. I mean, not the Greys. It was just the reptilians abducting people, and the humans abducting. There was no crossbreeding, nothing going on. But then the Greys got involved, and now what you don't realize, people, is so. A Grey contactee has kids. Those kids marry a reptilian contactee. They have kids. They marry a human contactee. They have kids. And then the whole cycle starts again. So everybody's it's like a unique, it's almost like they're feeding us different things in us to see who's going to pop out what. I really think they're thinking that we're getting ready to move to a higher evolution as far as our spiritual self. Oh, all right. I shouldn't say our spiritual self. I should say our energy self, the self that controls your abilities, like psychic abilities, psychic awareness. 5D. Yeah. Things along those lines. What do you mean? Telekinesis, I think, can be a lot harder. And telekinesis is dangerous because if someone on our planet had telekinesis right now, they would have already killed Putin. They would have just squeezed the artery in his head, and he would have had an aneurysm and died. And it would have looked natural, and it would have been the end of it. Many liberals would have killed Trump many moons ago. So it's just so that I don't think we have right now. Don't get me wrong, I do think a few people do possess it to an extent, but not to that. I think that's still going to be off in our future for them. But I think as far as telepathy goes, and I think empath, I think the whole planet, well, depending on how the contactees breed out. So knowing the world's population is minimum 15% contactees, if that 15% is starting to breed outside of its own group, more and more and more, then those abilities will get spread across the world at a faster rate. And now that they're a bigger population, they can. Who told you only Rh negative people have psychic ability? No, that's a lie.
Yeah, no, that's not true.
Rh
negative people have a lot of cool things, but they're not exclusive.
They're not exclusive, no.
Yeah, it comes from everything, because that would imply again that before there were Rh negative people, then there were no contactees, that there were no psychics.
Yeah, so yeah, no, that's I think people get confused with all that.
Yeah.
No, it's the Rh negative is important, but we don't understand why it's really important. See, iCard developed it so we could track people who we didn't know were contactees. That's what it was actually developed for. It wasn't developed for any scientific stuff. It was really developed. Now it's used for a lot of stuff by a lot of groups. But originally we were trying to find ways to find people who may have been contacted that not knowing. So we, put out the 50-point questionnaire, put out the blood type thing, and then people start saying, okay, well, I'm Rh negative. I have 50 of these things. Well, it's a good chance that those people have been taken. It's not 100% by any means, but under a good investigation, you may find out that those people are contactees. We were just simply looking for more contactees is what we're doing. And then we started realizing that there's differences between blood types and personality types. And then we realized about the eye colors. And it was a strange thing that we realized that, this was a mutation around 35,000 years ago, the green, blue, and Rh negative. And Rh negative is really important. It is the universal donor, or O negative is. But more importantly than that, O negative is the purest form of blood known to humans. Without it, that's what I am too. They would not know. They would not figure so. And it's figures what we're talking to each other. But, well, no, see, what else is really weird, people, on a side note, that if you pay attention, you'll notice a lot of politicians, about half, are blue or green eyed. And if you pay attention to Hollywood, more than half of people in Hollywood have blue or green eyes. So why is that when brown eyes outnumber blue and green by like 90%? What is that? How can that happen? Because those are mutations, and along with those mutations,
blue-eyed
blood
devil.
mutations. That's right. Even blue-eyed
Watch
people
out.
are evil, man. They're evil. I know a lot of them blue-eyed evil people. Y'all think they're evil out there?
Just kidding. Devils come in all shapes and sizes.
I'm
as
sweet.
do angels.
wait, Janine, what color eyes I got? Brown? No, I don't. But well, here you go. Just so if y'all ever use Ancestry is an SOB, okay? Because I got on my family. I said, y'all some lying SOBs, man. So well, no, my grandmother supposedly was 50% Cherokee. Well, when I got I think I'm like 3%. So that can't be right because then I should be like 25%. And so I said, oh, there's some funky monkey going on here. Well, when I originally, because I'm Italian or partly Italian, so when it first came over, it said it was like 6%. I'm like, no way, because I know my dad was at least 40%. And I was like, there's some shit going on here. And then somebody else joined the thing, and all of a sudden I was 36% Italian. But then I found out that I'm 44% Viking. What I mean by that, I'm Irish, Scottish, and Welsh. That's where the white skin, green eyes come from. Y'all curse me with that freaking white skin. No, I'm serious, people. No, y'all taking it the wrong way. I don't mean like being a white person. When you have skin as white as me, I don't like to tan. It's no. I'm sorry. Hey, it's one of them things. Green eyes is cool. I'm not hating on my green eyes. I like having green eyes, but there's lots of green eyes, and there's different green eyes. There's different blue eyes. I mean, there's got to be 50 shades of blue eyes. Mm-hmm. And then they got an argument on Facebook one day about what are bedroom blue eyes, and they came up like 200 different shades of blue. I'm like, well, I guess it's whatever the beholder has is what they think.
This is a subjective measure.
Because obviously it's not what we're thinking it is. What do you mean brown? I think brown eyes are pretty.
Pretty eyes come in all colors. Yeah.
Oh no, the person I married had brown eyes. Well, maybe because I have colored eyes, I wasn't as fascinated with a woman with colored eyes. Or really and truly, I don't really think it had anything to do with eyes. I think it had more to do with personality. Yeah. But to be honest with you,
one piece.
There was other stuff.
And beauty comes in all shapes.
It does. Frankie, what, you want to marry me? You got a lot of money? If you got a lot of money, I'll think about it now. No, I mean a lot of money. Look, I came from a fairly wealthy family, and the reason I've been spending a lot of money. So when I mean a lot of money, I mean a lot of money. Maybe at least 8 figures. I need to be pampered and taken care of. I need my pedicures, my manicures.
To be given the life to which you're
That's right. Good massage. Yeah, which it's no, okay. A lot of my friends. What do you mean successful as a contact? Oh no, you can be successful as a contactee. Yeah. So something that took me a long time to learn, a lot of other ones I know, is when you're dealing with this in the beginning, you're frustrated, you're aggravated, you don't know what's going on, you can't figure it out. There's nobody to talk to. Now, like you can hear Charis, I can get together. We can talk anytime we want. Anybody can contact us and talk. The thing of it is now there is people to talk to. You don't have to feel alone and isolated because you can't talk. And you know what? We're not going to make fun of you.
No, of course not. And
You
this is
know?
new. Like when I mean, the reason I even got online in the first place was because there was no one that I knew in my physical world who was going through what I was going through. And now many of what I'm doing in life in general, from my personal friendships to business stuff, is all as a result of the domino effect of that. But it started out because I was driving the people around me crazy because none of them
Yes,
were
I'm saying
into
it's not
it.
hard to do it.
They
Yeah,
didn't
and they're
want to
not.
talk about it.
I mean, I was raised in New Orleans. They were like alien. What you
Like,
on
why you need
drugs?
aliens? We got food, we got cooks, we got
Yeah, well,
spirits. What are you bringing in
you doing
aliens
this
for?
crazy stuff? I mean, come on, Joe. Can't you pick something like normal around here? But it is true. When you have somebody to talk to, it makes it easier.
Mhm.
Uh,
And you can
and I, and
fact
I and
check.
I've been lucky because I've been fortunate around me. I have people around me that I can talk to about it, but and they only look like I'm half crazy. But it's other people, when I meet people, I've met couples, I've met, women, I've met men, and they're at the end of their rope and they don't understand why. And then when I start teaching them, I say, well, first off, let's get your brain understanding what the contact is about. I said, secondly, let's make you understand that you do have empathic and probably latent telepathic abilities. I said, do you know you can use them in your relationship? You can use them in your career. And they're looking like, what do you mean? I said, I shouldn't say this. I said, but I use them when I'm doing business deals. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, well, when I go in and I'm doing a business deal with a customer, because I'm empathic and somewhat telepathic, I said, I know what the breaking point is. So I can push to a point and know that I'm going to get this amount of money because this is where this person is willing to go. But without that ability, I'd be playing guessing work. So my bid win ratio might be 50-50. My bid ratio is 90-10. So generally, I get almost all of my bids. Usually, if I don't get them, it's mainly because the customer decided not to do something. But I use those abilities, and you can. And it's like some things are bad about it because when you're with somebody for a while, you learn their moods, you learn a lot of things. So they can sense you even before you get home. So you get home a lot of times, there could be a whole tense house because you're already tense or aggravated about something. But sometimes it's good enough that they may be happy and bouncing around and might wash over you instead of the opposite. But it can make trouble in your relationships. You have to have somebody that understands it because without that understanding, you're doomed because there are going to be times that life throws certain curveballs, or unfortunately, you're in with a group of people that are overwhelming your abilities and you need a safe place after that. You need a place you can sit down and stop. I know Charis knows what I'm talking about, but
Yeah, nature's great for this too. Just
yes,
go
it
on a
is.
little nature walk. It will help you
It is. It really
rebalance.
is. That's an
Yeah.
excellent piece of advice because you can just don't walk in no bear woods, okay, people? I'm being serious. I've been watching bears breaking open doors on TikTok and shit. I'm thinking the first time a bear broke my door, he'd be it. He'd be lunch. I'd be pop, pop, pop. Sorry, Mr. Bear has checked out.
Yeah.
Well, there's been a lot of it. Nature is not what it used to be because we have become humans, sort of. We've allowed nature to rebloom. Well, wolves and sharks and bears and stuff eat humans. So you have to remember that. You just can't go out in the woods and think, oh, look how cute the bear is, because the bear might rip your head off.
Yeah, it depends on the kind of bear. I mean,
Yeah, it
black
does.
bears, as long as you're not between a mom and her cubs, you're good. You can see when they're kind of like dogs. Grizzly bears, nah.
No,
Like I
don't,
wouldn't.
don't
I
get around them.
wouldn't
Well,
even be around.
we get the small brown and small black bears down here,
Yeah.
6 foot, 7 foot. No, they're not grizzlies by any means. And most for the part, they'll leave you alone. And they're
Mhm.
they're good for comedy because they'll get into it with an alligator. An alligator will get him a mud hole. He's got a lot of fish in it, so he can just stay in that hole and eat his fish. Well, a lot of times the bear's like, no, I want the hole. They'll fight it out, man. You see the bear drag an alligator. That's like some kind of comedy thing. He'll grab him by the tail, start dragging him out, drag him into some more water.
Wow.
Alligator will come back. It goes on for a while. Usually the bear wins it. That's the funny part.
Wow, nature drama. Who
Yeah,
knew?
it is. It's kind of funny out there. And they just ignore you. They're like, okay, whatever.
Human. They don't have claws. They're too nice.
What are they doing out here? They shouldn't even be out here, man. They liable to get eaten by something. When you're down here in the bayou woods, there's lots of things that can kill you. Just lots and lots of things that can kill you. It's not like taking a walk in the woods up north, people. It's not the
Mm-mm.
same. No,
Go
no,
in
no, no. Something might
safe
eat you down
nature.
here.
It's okay,
Yes.
go to a garden if you need to. Botanical gardens will do the job.
You mean DC? I do hear about sightings over DC, but not often, not like I used to.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because people don't want to talk about them, or maybe, well, no, the abduction cases in DC are just as high as they are anywhere else. But just because somebody's being abducted don't mean anybody's going to see the craft.
Yeah. Cloaking tech, I guess, is
Yeah,
getting
it's
better and
cloaking
better.
tech or drag you up into space through some other means tech.
Or
Well,
yeah, just multidimensional, not physical.
well, I've often wondered. Well, we also talked about beaming technology. It's funny that when you talk about beaming technologies, they you got to kind of wonder how is it actually working, or where they're actually beaming you to, or beaming you from.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's weird. It's weird because when you first started hearing about the Greys in the 60s and 70s, they used to bring the ship down, and then they would bring you out of the house through the walls and stuff, and then kind of float you up into the ship. And then you've been hearing things about the big ship, not the little ships. They just zap your ass up there.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and you mean what she's talking? Okay, I'll let her tell you too. But so for the most part, you can have regular abduction where they take you, but there's a couple of types of non-physical abductions. There's
Yeah.
what I would call where they just take the essence of you. If you want to call it your spirit, you can call it whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
They take the essence of you, and then there's another one where they actually put that. Well, actually, they can put it into a computer, or they can put it into the hologram into a different body,
Mm-hmm.
or into your own body and ship. But it's not actually your physical body; it's
Mm-hmm.
something else.
Oh.
Well, I think they do those because maybe one day those contactees might be off world or something, or maybe they're getting them used to a different form of a body. I don't really know, but there's lots of speculation on what it could be. But they do encourage contactees to use those methods, and I think they start doing them and taking them, and it's less stressful on your body.
Yeah, and
And
also like we're talking multidimensional. So I think when you're first person in this, where you're experiencing it, a lot of times you'll think they did take your body because you look
Mhm.
down, you see a body, but the whole time they're in another dimension. So a lot of this stuff is
Yeah,
multidimensional. So you can be taken easier and then you can be there easier because it might be that your actual physical body is too dense to even hang out over there. It wouldn't even be comfortable.
that's true. It
So
might be.
yeah, so I think that a lot of times it's less physical than people think. Not that that never happens. Of course, it happens sometimes, but I think
Mhm.
it's the vast minority. I think a lot of these experiences that people are having aren't necessarily physical, but they can't tell the difference because in the dimension that they get into, it's physical there. It's just that your body was also asleep in bed here. But that doesn't mean that it didn't happen. It was just happening like software rather than hardware.
Yeah. What do you mean, Keith? You mean like the Matrix? I guess, sort of, maybe.
I mean, ish.
Yeah, ish. I'm gonna have to go with
It's never
Charis on
quite
this.
like it
Ish.
is in the movies.
I have to kind of go with the ish here, but it's well, no, I mean because for them it's different. Okay, they can switch bodies just like we change clothes. So we often wondered how they used to zip around, but so one of them told us once a big ship is put somewhere, because the big ships take a little while to get here, they can actually shoot themselves back and forth to wherever they are. Like if they want to go to their home world, if they want to go to another ship, they don't actually have to take another ship. They can be sent there and record and put into a new body when they get there. So it's a little bit different.
Mm.
Um, well, it could be that they just along the way, since they already have the DNA scan, they just grow a body of that DNA. No, they don't use cloning. No, it's not cloning.
It can
They
be the
don't.
way that they make the food, maybe. Like they just
Yeah,
kind of put it 3D print it all together, more or
yeah. So
less.
that way, well, the Greys have always had the ability to switch bodies because that's the way they have immortality. They have long lifespans. I mean, some people say a million years, some people say further, but they have long lifespans. But if something happens to them, they make regular copies of their consciousness that are kept on hard drives. Well, what we would call a hard drive, even though it's nothing like our hard drives, it's more like an energy drive. But regardless, they're stored there, and that consciousness can be uploaded to a new body. Now, of course, anything that happened after that point, they won't remember, but still it's them. And so the argument's been here, and we've discussed this because we're not far off this technology. A couple of companies started working on this around 2005. It all started over some guy, and I think it was 95 or 97, put a chip in his head. Just some random guy got a microchip and stuck it in his head and wanted to see, wired it to his brain, wanted to see if he could record dreams or memories. And sure to hell, when he put it into the computer, it had memory stored on it. So because the memories are just electrical impulses. So once they realized that, then they realized they could probably start copying the brain. But the problem is what is the soul? What is this? So are you taking the soul when you make these copies, or are you just making a copy of the brain? That's the real question. And are you cheating death in a way that you may regret because you're supposed to be going, to the next level or wherever the other side is, and you're skipping it because you want to live longer in this universe or in this dimension? So there's lots of questions to ask here, and we just don't know. But with the Greys, they do believe in a religion, or I should say not a religion, but they do believe in a creator. So,
Spirituality, yeah.
so for them, they don't think they're losing anything. So maybe they're not.
It's like us using the tech that we use in a couple hundred years ago. Like, look at our cell phones. Remember when people
Yeah.
used to take pictures and think that that took your soul?
Yep.
And now, I mean, gosh, how many pictures have we taken in this conversation with things shifting every second? We're okay now, though. Like, I don't know. I don't feel like my soul's been stolen when I'm taking
No,
pictures, but
and I think that's part of the learning process. People have to learn that no, you didn't lose your soul because of that.
Mhm.
You may go here. So these different techniques that they use, this is stuff that they've been working on a long time. It works for all the races. They can easily upload their self, and they don't call them host bodies, they call them husk bodies, which is just means that
Interesting.
they're grown from mixed DNA, so they're not cloned. So there's no cloning
Mm.
degradation. So they'll take DNA from Harriet and Bob and Jane and Jean and whoever, and like an 8-person pool, and then create a body out of that. And then you just upload into it, which also means it's kind of like Doctor Who. You might have a slightly different altered face. So for humans, it would definitely be different. For Greys, not as much. I mean, Greys. I don't want to say they all look alike because that's kind of racist, but
I know, right? Oh, Grace look the same. No, I mean they got little differences. The way I mean,
not much.
you know, it
You
seems
gotta look
little to us.
really
I'm
hard.
sure they look really different to each other.
Oh, I'm sure they do. But they don't look all that much different to us.
Mm,
What do you mean, Bill? No, actually, all people look different to me. I have really good eyesight. I'm really pathetic with names, but if I see a face,
same.
it's
I've
I
got
have
great
yeah,
face recognition
yeah.
tech
It'll
in
be
my
in my
brain.
yeah.
Names, not so great.
If I see your face, it's there for life. It kind
Yes,
of bites
same.
sometimes because I can't remember your name, but
Yes,
I don't know what
same.
it is. No, I don't know what it is. I'm not a narcissist. What are you on? Y'all some druggy up motherfuckers in this. Excuse my French, but y'all on some drugs up in this place tonight. I know. I mean, well, no, I'm not anti. Well, it depends on what kind of drug it is. I'm anti some drugs, not
Yeah,
all
the
drugs.
the zombie makers know, but I
Yes.
mean,
What do you mean?
expanding
Marijuana.
consciousness
Marijuana is
is
not
always
even a real
good.
drug.
That's a
Uh,
plant. That's a
yes, it's
plant.
a herbal. It's a herbal.
And it
It's one of the
doesn't
few
it
drugs that don't
doesn't
do
have
damage to you.
exactly, it doesn't have negative contact. The only studies that said that it did, they were basically fumigating the participants. They like
Yeah.
put a mask on these monkeys and didn't take it off for days, right? So it was like every breath was that. That's not actually the way
What do
it
you
works.
mean I'm anti-edibles? No, I'm not anti-edibles. Okay, I have talked about edibles before because the first 3 deaths came from edibles, but
Oh,
because people get dumb sometimes. And
and
look,
eat way too
I'm
much.
not. I shouldn't say this on air, but I'm going to say this. So one time, long time ago, I ate a cookie. Okay, so I ate the cookie, and like an hour passed. I'm like, man, you got wasted time. So I ate another cookie. So about an hour later, I got a nice little buzz going. So that's not the best. So I ate a third. Oh man,
Josh.
Jesus. So now I was so ripped. I felt like I was on acid.
Oh
Screw pot.
man.
This is way better than any pot I ever had.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. So then I realized at that moment this can be dangerous. It's not
Yeah.
like ordinary marijuana. So you have to distinguish between two. Nah, gummies are great. Just don't eat a bag full.
Yeah, just don't eat 6 of them.
But the other
One.
problem is dumb Colorado people got us in trouble because they kept leaving their cookies and candies and gummies out on the table, and their kids were eating them.
Oh man.
So, all of a sudden you come home and you find your kid passed out on the couch. And he's not probably going to die or anything, but he's
Yeah.
probably so loaded he ain't going to know his name for a week.
Yeah, super
And
uncomfortable and not good for the brains of growing children.
plus, you probably got the parents in all kind of trouble if they brought
Mhm.
him to the hospital. So, it's just things like that we need to work on. Well, no, but you know why? Because the foods don't have the regulations. So THC in most flowers are going to be between 21 and 34. 34 is potent, guys. But on food, it can be as high as 80 or 90. So it's a big difference. Yeah, it is. Well, we'll see where it goes. There'll be regulations now that more and more states are. I mean, come on, Mississippi got medical marijuana. It'll go to regular medical probably next year. So eventually all the states will have it, and that'll be the end of that. And it'll be a big revenue maker and a big tax maker. I mean, and that'll be the end. Well, no, I mean, it's just actually marijuana's supposed to be anti-cancer, not it
Yeah, it's
doesn't.
supposed to
It's
be
not so. Yeah,
anti-cancer and anti-aging. And
and
I will say this, you see people do these crazy crimes when they're drunk or whatever on
loaded
drugs.
up on some good drugs.
Nobody does anything crazy when they get high. They just eat too
Yeah,
many
fall
chips
asleep in the
and
car. It's like,
exactly. It's like of all the things that we could be worried about, I don't think weed is gonna cause. It just might.
no, it's
It
not
does
going to
make
cause
you
an
less
overturn
want
of
to
the
do the
country.
rat race, though.
It
So
does
I think
sometimes.
that could because you don't care as much. So that
Well,
could be
what you got to
bad if it kills
you got
too
to
much
watch people
ambition.
is you have to set your times and limits for You don't want to be getting high all day, especially if you're working and stuff.
Yeah,
You're
don't
not
do it
working
before
all
you gotta
day.
do paperwork or go to the
You know,
DMV.
it's just don't walk into the DMV smell like pot. You might get
Yeah,
in trouble.
just time and place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's, but and remember, and this is a lesson I want to teach everybody. It don't matter if you live in a state where legal pot is legal, recreational. If you're on federal property and you get caught smoking marijuana, you can get up to 5 years.
Mm.
Remember, as far as the federal is concerned, it's a Schedule One drug.
Mm-hmm.
Most potent. It's even worse than cocaine or heroin. I cannot
Sensitive.
believe that somebody actually put marijuana ahead of cocaine and heroin and even crack. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man. Obviously, these are some old cranky bastards in the 50s or
It
60s or
was the
something.
cotton industry, right?
Yeah, I don't know
Because
who it
hemp
was,
was
but
gonna take so much over, and
yeah,
they were
that's
like,
probably true.
yeah.
Well, hemp is marijuana, people. It's just a low
Mm-hmm.
form. Well, no, you can get
The
high off of hemp.
leaves
It's
rather
just,
than because you smoke the flowers. The hemp
yeah.
is the leaves and the stalks of the plant.
They got a special variety now of hemp that looks just like marijuana. Its potency level is much lower. It's
Mm.
because you have to remember the old days they used to call it smoking rope on the ships because they used to cut the rope and smoke it because it was made out of hemp and you could get high off the rope and that's why it was called smoking rope. I bet y'all didn't know that stuff, huh, people? Whereas I got to do with aliens because after you got abducted on your ship, you wanted to chill out and you smoked some rope.
And I will say, ETs seem to like that.
Yeah, they don't seem to have
Sweets,
a problem with it. Yeah.
chocolate, weed.
Yeah, because they probably don't have any of that in their home. What are they like? These humans,
Earthweed
some of
is
these humans
apparently a
are.
great delicacy. It's kind of like when we're talking about the plants. If you're going around the galaxies for however many years, centuries, whatever, do you know how much precious, priceless one little tiny like potted dandelion is? Like ridiculous. And we on Earth are surrounded by so much all the time. Just
Yeah.
completely take it for granted. But it's kind of the same. Like something about weed on Earth and in the US because it's our flower, right? One of the main places. It's a delicacy, but again, you just have to be smart about how you use it. It's also a spirit. It also has its own consciousness. You're collaborating like mushrooms, like you're collaborating with them. After you take mushrooms, you're never the same. They twine around your DNA. They change you. Not that you shouldn't do it, but you shouldn't do it lightly. You shouldn't do it recreationally only. Make sure you're setting intentions when you do it. Make sure you take time to integrate it after you do and let it actually grow your consciousness. Just doing it as recreation is the thing that messes up your brain.
And just know, people, there's a difference between LSD and mushrooms.
Oh,
Just in
yeah.
case y'all wanted to know. One is they're different.
Different.
A mushroom. It's hard to explain, but a mushroom buzz will give you. You'll see a different kind of. So real quick, so LSD is going to probably make you see tracers and lights and all kind of stupid shit, and it's going to get you really messed up. Sometimes you may even be driving down interstate at 10 miles an hour on interstate 60.
Don't drive on LSD.
Yeah, you shouldn't be driving. Period on
Don't.
LSD. While we're on it, you shouldn't be driving. So,
Don't
but what I
drive.
but and
Wow.
shrooms. Don't get me wrong. Shrooms are powerful, especially if they're good ones. But they're in a different way. It can
More
really
organic.
open up. Yeah, and it can really open up. It can open up your consciousness. But when I say can, I mean it does take some effort from you as well. It's not just going to happen. I don't think LSD opens up anything but get you high as hell.
I mean, I don't know.
It
I've
could.
had some amazing
It could.
experiences that shifted me forever.
It could.
But again, it depends on how you do it. If you're just doing it and partying versus if you're doing it with the intention to see something. And the two can combine. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm a burner. I've been a Burning Man many years. Like people doing crazy stuff out there.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do too. But it's like going into it as, oh, I'm gonna blow off some steam and have this crazy experience and just chalk it off to that crazy night. Or going, okay, I know this is a doorway that's going to open a connection to different realms for me. So I'm going to go ahead and learn what there is to learn and then be able to have that access when I no longer have it in my bloodstream later and like integrate it.
Oh, no, Janice, I've never done any of those things.
What do you mean? Yes, no, this is all just conjecture.
Yeah, I've never done. I'm being honest. I ain't never done none of this stuff. That's why I won't run for politics because. Look, I had 20s. I was a little anxious in my 20s. Is all I can say. No, I was actually pissed off in my 20s. No, I lost my dad when I was 16, so I was pissed off until about 3 years after my son was born, and then I kind of chilled. When I mean chilled, I don't mean like what y'all mean chilled. I just mean chilled from where I was. I don't know. I was busy is all I can say. But in all of that, I still found time to go out and find places to meditate or just to sit under the stars and just relax. But, I got to a point where I noticed, and a lot of contactees have the same problem. They think they're going out somewhere to be relaxed and be alone. All of a sudden, they get zapped because
Yep.
they're being called out there because they didn't realize until it was too late, and then they get zapped.
Yeah. Or have a crazy experience. I had a half-hour conversation with the great horned owl one day, staring at me the whole time. I'm like, wait, are you an ET? Are you a Fae? What are you?
What are
Look
you?
at,
Yeah.
and it was like, why can't I be all of them? But
Yeah.
the whole
Well,
time,
that's true too. I can't. Well,
yeah.
see, that's the other problem with the Greys. We found out that the Greys were disguising themselves as spirit guides and Indian guides and animals
Basically,
and stuff
whatever the
like that.
brain can handle that gets
And
their project through,
and I think that's what I did it for. I think in the
Mhm.
early days they did it because it was a way for you to deal with it without having to think about aliens.
Mhm.
Oh, my spirit guide said this, or my spirit guide said that, or my
Mhm.
Indian, or my dragon, or whatever.
Mhm.
And it made it easy for you. And that's why I used to tell people, one of the first places you'll find people that have had contact is in the paranormal fields because they're
Mhm.
looking. They don't. All they know is something's happened to them, but they don't know what it is. So they're just looking for anything to hang on to. Well, you'll find a lot of them go through religions, Jeannie. I mean, they'll go
Mm.
through a lot of different religions.
Mysticism, Christian
Yes,
mysticism, other types of mysticism, like that's going through
they're,
the
they're,
veils.
they're just trying to find what it is that actually happened to them, and then from that point, then they can start shifting and changing their lives. But you don't always find right away, and then sometimes you do find right away, and then you instantly shut yourself down.
Yeah, give it time to marinate and like sometimes things don't make sense until a while later. Like it'll be explained a couple years down the road or
Yeah, and you
whatever.
may get downloads along the road, and all of a sudden, something that's been bugging you for like 5 years, all of a sudden you get download driving one day, and you get home, you're like, oh well, shit, that's what, and then you're just kind of like, what the hell? It's it's kind of like overwhelming, but yet it's kind of unsensational because of the way it happens. You're kind of like,
You get used to it.
it's a little strange, but no downloads. What do you mean downloads? Yeah, iCar should get uh, credit for terminating, but we don't really care anymore. We used to get not my host, but my director used to get really mad because iCar used to put out a lot of data and we put out a lot of terminology because of things we were working on. And then you hear this one, that one, or Linda Moulton's Howie or somebody come up and use them and not give them credit. They get, and I can't really blame them for getting aggravated. But my goal was never so much to get famous as it was just to get to find, to help people who needed it and to find out what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And along the way, yeah, I've met people, I've talked to people, I've been on TV, I've been on radio. It's not as important. I don't have to be the guy at every conference because, frankly, I find them boring. It's well, when I got in the field, we used to go to conferences all the time. So I'm gonna tell you a little secret. If you're a researcher, not if you're a groupie, but if you're a researcher, you'll most likely end up getting disappointed by about half or more of the people you meet in the field because they're not what you thought they were. So it's kind of disappointing. And then when you're looking for answers and you go up and every time you talk to them, they're just repeating the same thing they've seen at this conference or that conference or that conference. And then you start noticing a lot of people at the conference are the same people at this conference or that conference. So it gets old after a while.
Mhm.
And it seems like it takes about every 5 years for them to start refreshing their material. And it's even still not material that's going to change anything or going to make you help anything. I mean, the things we were after was like setting up projects to find out about the reptilians, the humans, the greys. We were looking for real information, and we were willing to share it. I'm still in trouble over cattle mutilations. I'm in trouble over cattle mutilations, Barney and Betty Hill, Roswell.
Mhm.
I just stay it. It's all her fault, by the way. We're blaming on Charis, but what do you mean? No, indeed not, man. Oh, no, Betty and Barney Hill. I rewrote the whole Betty and Barney Hill case. I remember on Coast to Coast when I told George Noy, he goes, well, I'll let you talk about it, but you're never going to change my mind. And then there was like 4 minutes of silence when I shut up. When I finally
Mhm.
shut up after like 25 minutes of talking. He was like, son of a bitch. That's just a much better explanation because it was well thought out and it was well done and it was well put together. And it was more plausible than what they had said. I really think the Hills were the first known military abduction case. They were taken in Canada. They were military abducted in the U.S. I don't even know why it was so hard for people to grasp, but you'd have thought I killed somebody when I brought it out. It's stuff like that. And when you write, new stuff, Roswell and stuff, it's just but you know what? We had better information now. We have better researchers. We have more researchers. We have more contactees. We have a bigger sampling, so we have a better idea of what's going on. And it's not always going to be the same, even though we do have abduction criteria for what I call mainstream contactees, but not all contact. So when you get into the keepers and communicators and stuff like that, the way things work are different because they're handled differently. So they're not handled like the cattle abductees. I hate saying it that way. But they're not handled the same way.
Not
Now,
bagged and tagged.
Yeah, but all those people, they have the chance to get out and do something else, or so for some people, age 30, 35, contact's going to end, but you'll still get your kids and grandkids and all that. But for you, it's because you're no longer useful for whatever they're doing. But for some people, contact goes well after that, well until they die. And it's just a different thing. And those people are handled differently because at this point, they can, it's just easier for them to do things. They're more aware of what their contact is and more aware of what's going on in the population. They're more willing to get out and help and take care of things. It's just a better thing away. Really? Well, we're getting ready to go anyway. Well, I'd stay with Charis for another hour, easy.
Many hours.
Oh yeah, we can. I'm gonna have her back on. We're gonna talk. We just were chit chatting tonight. We didn't get nothing hard. No. I see it. No, I hear. I think that's my oldest, my son coming in. Yeah, I keep hearing he's gonna be making all kind of noise. The dog's gonna start barking. So we're gonna get out of here in a second. But no, Charis, tell them where they can find you at. Tell them to say hi.
Let's see. You can find me on my website, charismelina.com, CharisMelina. It's also my Instagram name. You can find me on YouTube. You can find my podcast, which is called Stars and Spirits. We're still pretty new, but we talk about esoteric stuff and conscious evolution.
I don't know why she's not on our network. Don't ask me that.
And then on TikTok, I'm Grace of Earth.
Yes, that's right. She could be on TV. That's right, on Roku with us. That's true. See that. No, actually, she does things. I see her from time to time. I'll catch her on Instagram or I'll catch her on Facebook. TikTok. Are you on TikTok? I've never seen you on TikTok.
I'm pretty new. Name over there is Grace of Earth.
Oh, I like that name. Y'all can catch her over there. Don't be rude because she will bounce your ass.
Yeah, my black finger is strong.
Let me tell you what, she's all sweet and nice now, but don't think she won't kick your ass because she will.
Yeah, I got boundaries. I'm into collaboration. I don't want to argue. I'm just not going to do it. So.
But yeah, y'all can catch her in there. She does a lot of great stuff from time to time. I'll catch her in there and just stop by for a little while and listen to her. It's she's a good speaker. She's got her stuff together when she's talking. She's very relaxed, which relaxes you. That's always a good thing.
That's cool.
Yeah, she's just no. Well, I can't say every time I see her she's calm, but 90 times I see her, she's just calm. She's like calm. You're like cool. It's like in a cool way. Not you're people. I'm gonna start smacking y'all. Damn.
I don't know what they're saying. I don't.
No, and that's the other thing that's irritating. So I told Michelle, I'm gonna set up a camera just for this chat group. I am because it's starting to irritate me with themselves. But they are. No, they're a good group. So this is a group of people who have been following me for almost 16 years. So we used to be on Yahoo back in the day. And that's where I met a lot of them. Then Yahoo lost its mind. So we went to Fire Talk, which was turning into Power Talk. So we went to Power Talk for a decade and a half. And we used to use the UFO fan. And it took forever just to get them to come over there. They had gripes like, well, it's blue. I'm like, what I can't make them change colors. Oh, well, it's got admin control. Well, that's why we're here, because it's got admin controls. And then we stopped using it. So now they all pile into Messenger. And because they don't want to get on a Facebook page or none of them want to be on Facebook, and half of them, I said, when you're on Messenger on Facebook, right? Well, it's not the same thing. I'm like, whatever. And every now and then they'll open their own little group on Messenger and just torture me for a while. And but I mean, they've been around a long time. Great. And they're for a lot of different countries. They're a lot of fun. What do you mean? Oh no, what do you mean? She wouldn't date you. You can forget it, bud. You are ugly. No, I mean, you're ugly. You ugly like my Chihuahua's butt ugly, man. Come on. And you ain't got no money. Come on, get out of here. I wouldn't let you because she's a friend of mine. No, I'm sorry. No, I have standards. I'm just saying. Well, she's got higher standards than I do, but I got standards. So, yeah. No, indeed not. No, she is a sweetie pie. And she's intelligent. She's bright. She's got her shit together. She has a lot of fun. She's got a very fun soul, which is really nice because a lot of people's souls are, I don't want to say, but they're not fun. We'll just
at the end of the day, we're just here to party, right? We're on Earth for a short time. Let's have a good time and
That's
try not
right.
to be
Remember,
assholes.
people, you got X amount of days. Well, I can't help myself. Sometimes I am an a-hole, but that's
Well,
because y'all
yeah.
make me like that, people.
If you're going in sparring, that's different.
That's
As
right.
long
If
as
you don't make
everyone's
me like that,
consent.
I won't be like that. You see, but no, y'all got to do something stupid and make me like that. What do you mean? Oh, you mean the indictment? Yeah, we'll be talking about that later in the week. I'm not going to get into it much because it's just not until what do you mean? Do I think it's political? Yeah, I think it's political, but that's not as important as I always thought that campaign money was a federal thing, not a state thing. So I'm a little confused how they brought charges when it's a Fed thing. Plus, I'm pretty sure it's past the statute of limitations. So I'm a little confused by that too. But other than that, what do you mean? No, I didn't vote for Trump. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to argue. I thought he did a lot of good things for the country. Putin was scared of him. Ping was scared of him. Kim Jong Un was scared of him. Gas down here was $1 a gallon. Eggs were 85 cents. I mean, he did a lot. Economy was booming. The borders were under control. So he did do some good things. It's just, how can I say this politely? He's crazy. I mean, no, I mean, he would get us out of the hole we're in right now, and he would make Putin behave himself. There's no doubt about that. But can you take the 4 years of craziness for him to straighten out the country? That's the real question.
Like, things like intense racism. It's
Yeah,
just
right. He's
like,
not like racist.
like, it just
Oh
kind of
no,
turns you off.
you mean Kimberly? No, he's not as racist against blacks as he's against Hispanics. Oh
Just
no.
in general.
Yes, he's.
Yeah, just,
What do you mean he married a colored woman? No, she's from like one of the not Scandinavian countries, one of the
Yeah.
former Russian republics.
European. She's European.
Yes,
Yeah.
she's just hot. That's all.
Yeah,
She
she's
probably
a lot
pays big
spray
money for that
tan.
tan. Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah,
going to say. She
yeah.
probably
No
pays,
hate, it's like whatever. Do what you like.
do what you want.
Yeah.
No, I didn't have nothing against either one of them. I just I want my president to do a good job, which he did, but I
I
want
want to
you
be
to have
proud of my
class.
president.
Yes, I
Yeah.
need some class. I need some, I
Mhm.
don't need the apprentice. Maybe he
You're
learned his, you
fired.
know what, you know what, Lorena, maybe you're right. Maybe he learned his lesson. He won't be an asshole, but
Doesn't seem that way
I'm
to
not
me. He doesn't really
feeling
look.
it. I'm
Just
not
look at a
feeling
picture of the guy. If you are an empath and you can read energy at
it.
all,
Yeah.
just
Well,
read.
I'm not arguing with you. I do think he could turn the country around in a good way. It's not the point.
Yeah, I can't say
But
one
you
way
know
or
what?
the other.
DeSantis can do that too.
And the president doesn't really have that kind of clout in the grand scheme of things. A president can't really change everything around. Like, it's not,
No, an
our
asshole
legal
president
system is
can.
not set up that way.
It's you generally it takes a year to 2 years for a president's reign to take effect. So Trump got some good stuff. He did some good stuff, but he also got a boost or two off of Obama. So Obama's if Obama would have made it another 2 years, Obama would have seen a much better economy than the one he unfortunately had for 8 years.
Mm,
And half of that would be on Obama, half of that would be on Trump. So
mm.
between the two of them, they boosted out a real good economy, and Trump managed to keep it the rest of his term. But the problem is, and yes, I agree, all the Russian shit was a hoax, and why Hillary's not in jail. I understand all of that, but it's the way he conducted himself as president. That's what
And
bothered.
the hate, like the way that people kind of got on a hate platform. I'll say this: I make a lot of road trips. I travel a lot in my car all over the states working. And the only time I've ever been afraid in the past few years was when I found myself deep in Trump country with
No,
science, because I thought to myself, I'm a
yeah, you
witch
shouldn't
of
even worry
color
about
traveling with my black cat. Like,
that. That,
if something happens, well, I mean, it's just the vibe. It's just the energy
it
of, like,
is,
is this a
but
friendly or not friendly environment? When people hurt me, would they help me?
and it's
And
funny you
I
said
can't
that
say
because
why.
I had friends that would tell me when Obama was president they were scared to go to New York or go to
Oh, yeah, I don't
Chicago.
know. Yeah, I can't say. I
But
didn't. That's the only
but
time I voted for
the
anything.
problem with all of that is yes, okay, he did some boo boos. We're not going to argue. He did some boo boos. All presidents do some boo boos. And Obama never had a fair chance because his own party set him up for failure. I didn't ever understand that. The guy was charismatic. He was intelligent. You should have gave him 6 or 8 years in the Senate. He'd have came out as a gangbuster. We'd have had a good president for 8 years. But instead, we got a guy who wanted to be a good president, but pissed off the country so bad they took the House and the Senate away from him the rest of the time he was president and never would give it back to him. So they made him president again, but they wouldn't give him anything back. So I never understand that when you reelect a president for 4 years, but you take the House and the Senate away. That's like having a lame duck president. All he can do is
Yeah,
do is
stalemate.
It's a waste of their time and our time, and we need to learn. I liked it better in the old days though, when the vice president was elected by the people and not by the party, because then you could end up with a both parties servants.
That'd be
I
nice.
miss that. I miss
Balance it
that. But
out.
yeah, it's just sad. It's no, he just no. I just feel for Obama because I think he got screwed. I think he could have been the president we were looking for, but unfortunately, his own party said, well, we're going to throw you in there because we want to have the first black president. Instead of saying, you know what, why don't we run this guy, Obama, spend your 6 years in the Senate, get to know everybody, come back, because he didn't know anybody in the Senate. He didn't even know who to go to talk to. He was taking advice from Nancy Pelosi. Give me a break. I mean, there was lots of intelligent Democrats. She's just not one of them.
I feel like there's probably stuff going on that we don't know about that
I'm
pushed the
sure there's
agenda
lots of that.
faster,
And I'm sure there is. It's just, but I've noticed lately both parties have been more orientated about Trump, not so much, but for the most part, the other ones have been more orientated about what can I do for myself and what can I do. They don't really give a shit about the country.
Right.
DeSantis, on the other hand, he's well liked in Florida by Democrats and Republicans. He's turned his state around. He's taken on big companies, so he's got a good chance. And what's funny is right now, even with Trump's indictment, he's still 5 points ahead of Joe Biden and 11 points ahead of Kamala Harris. He's actually 3 points ahead of DeSantis, but in what they call the favorability rating, he's negative 1 point. Biden's negative 5 points. Kamala's negative 8 points. DeSantis is plus 14 points. So the country actually likes the guy. It would be nice to have a president that both sides like for a change.
That would be nice.
It's been a long time. I mean, both sides liked Reagan, both sides liked Clinton. So we've had presidents like that. We've had bipartisan presidents. It's just Bush technically baby Bush was a bipartisan president, but that was only because of the war. It wasn't because of anything else. I don't like wars, people. I want to live to be like 5,000 years old. Yes. Me and Charles are going to come back and laugh at y'all in 5,000 years. You stupid humans.
He's still arguing about the same thing.
I know.
You realize how we could be chilling by now if we just fix our shit.
I know. What, Kim? You get one more question. We got to go. What is it? What is it? Oh, that's going to be a long one. So basically, she wants to know. We were talking about more contact lately, but she wants to know when you do you get really intense contacts where you feel like you're being overwhelmed by a lot of things, a lot of knowledge, a lot of energy when you're on board the craft?
Not anymore. Well, never really aboard the craft. I would say when I'm on crafts, even in the beginning, I was very calm at the time. Because again, if your fight or flight's going too hardcore, mostly your memory is going to be wiped. Or sometimes you'll keep it just to start to acclimate you. The first time I found myself on a craft, I acted like an idiot, absolutely, fight or flight, acting like I was in enemy territory, all this kind of stuff.
Technically that's how you felt.
Yeah, what the heck's going on, but I would say the key is in working on integrating the energies that come through. So like anything, think about the first time you drove a car, right? You're controlling this huge hunk of metal you could kill somebody with very easily, and now it's no big deal. So the idea is you want to kind of fortify your mind as you get used to it, so then later you can flip in and out and access stuff when you need to, and you can have contact on call when you need to. These days I can go into meditation, write my little sigil, I can talk to him. It did not start off that way. It took years of practice in order to get there, but it's possible. And it's like anything, you hone it or you just let it run wild and not be dependable.
What do you mean? What kind of contact are you having? So you're okay. So where are you? In London? Oh, you're outside of London. All right. So real fast, we consider the UK, the island itself, the English island itself, to be a how can I say this? Not a test zone, like a when they are given two shots and one's like a placebo, one's not, but one, what the hell they call it? Anyway,
blind study.
They are the classic alien abductions come out of England almost all the time. So we feel like that's their check study. That's what they're checking against everybody else that's being taken.
Oh, like control group.
Yeah, so it is. It's basically like a control group study. So most of the abductions that come out of England are harsh. They're people are mad afterwards. It's basically the same aliens. They're just For some reason, this is abduction 101 in England, and everywhere else in the world it seems to be changing. So they're the control group study. No, that's why it's probably happening to you. But there are ways to deal with that too, and you can ask them. How old are you, if you mind me asking? You got to be under 30, right? I'm just curious. 24. Shit.
Oh wow, yeah, it's gonna keep it's
Yeah,
gonna
you
get
still
real
got a few
interesting in about
years.
4 more
Yeah.
years. Ask if they can tone it down. Ask if they can like work with your nervous system. Like, does it happen at night a lot? If it does, like if you get taken out of sleep, whatever, just keep setting the intention as you're going to bed or whenever you go into the situations where it tends to happen. Keep requesting that it go easier on your nervous system because they don't want us to freak out
No,
either.
they don't.
Like it's
That's why
not
they
it's not a
block the
fun
memories.
experience for them to freak us out. They'll work with you.
You got to remember, they're very, very telepathic. So anytime we freak out, they're feeling all of it. Yeah, they can shut down some of it. So in your case, more than likely, from what you're telling me, is you have shown some type of interest. So it's not a bad thing. It's just going through the type of things you're going through right now. What you need to do is, so I understand what you're saying. It's starting to show up in your dreams now. So you showed some kind of interest. You told them at one point or another that you're more interested in learning about this and working about it. That's why they're going to start letting you remember a little bit at a time. What you have to remember from puberty to about age 28, there is a lot of stuff that goes on in that you would really rather not remember. I mean, if you want to, when I tell people when they ask me to be hypnotized, I said, why don't we just skip that area? Because there's going to be a lot of stuff in there that they do. It's one of the reasons they block it out because they don't want to put that kind of stress on you. A lot of it may be physical, a lot of it may be mental. It's not that they're trying to be mean or vindictive. It's just a program they run all contactees through. Um, and unfortunately for them, it's like when we dart an animal and take an animal and do that. It's the same thing to them. That's how
Tag
they
and
feel.
tag.
And now it's getting a little less now because I think they're getting further along on their agendas, but still, it still happens that way. So what I would suggest to you is just say, can you block out these parts of my memory until I'm ready for it, which they're probably already doing.
Mm-hmm.
But if you feel like it's overwhelming, ask again, just train it, put it in your head, and, just start programming your head for the next time that they take you. Or if it becomes too much of stress, just start asking them because they always keep a telepathic link with you 24/7. So
Mm-hmm.
if you feel like you're losing it, you can have them come and remove it. More than likely, though, you as you're writing, I can see that you're really interested in this. So if you're willing to deal with the good and the bad, just know that at this particular point, there are going to be times that the memories will be really hard to deal with and be really rough. So you can make your mind up as you're going along. You can say, okay, I need to remember this part, but can you help me deal with this part or block this part out? Now, remember, too, there are people like us and other people out there that you can go to help you get through those parts as well. Yeah, it's not going to bind if you cry for hours. I understand all of that. Some of the stuff is harsh, but we do recommend that most people try not to remember those experiences. The breeding program, it's not so much that it's brutal, it's just, how can I say this? They don't look at mating like we do. To us, it's a very personal thing. We don't like being naked in front of a bunch of people unless you're making money at it or something. So sorry, I shouldn't have said it like that. But anyway,
Well,
I
think
mean,
about how we treat cows, right?
yes.
Like we forcefully inseminate cows. We don't even think twice about it. Not that they do that to us, but it's like
Well,
similar
they
in that
do
they're
that
like,
though. They do
well,
a lot of
like
that
the
stuff.
same exact way.
Yeah,
It's like
milking machines and
very
stuff. I mean,
pragmatic. Yeah, like very just like point A to point B, get it done quick. And I mean, if you think about a lot of things that go on, say you have to go to the doctor and they have to do some kind of procedure to you. If you weren't given before or after and you just had memories of the procedure, it'd probably be traumatic. So it might be traumatic, but also just remember you got up the next morning, you ate your cereal or whatever it is, and you're okay. So you're okay.
they put you back in one piece.
Yeah, you're okay
Um,
now.
Clara, when it comes to kids, all I can tell you is this: either block the memories or understand that your kids are going to go through the same things you did, and they're going to come out the same way you did. And you know this ahead of time, so you can actually help them. Where you didn't
Yes.
have a parent there to do this, they do.
Yes, listen to them, ask them questions about
Yes,
it, maybe keep a log of it, maybe write it down.
yes. Keep a
If they're
log.
upset, soothe them, but don't tell them they're crazy, just believe them and one way or the other, it doesn't really matter a lot of it. So, just keep a log of it, and so they can reference it when they get older.
Well, what do you mean? Should you tell them that you've been taken? I would wait till they're older.
Yeah, Yeah, I don't think, I mean, I could see if maybe a kid's like really freaked out and like, what, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? And if a parent says, well, it happens to me too, because it does often run in family lines, I could see how that could be
Yes.
comforting. But if you're going to lever more trauma on them because you haven't dealt with it either, and then you're going to lose your center and y'all are both spinning out of control, maybe not. So
Yeah.
gauge
So
with how everything's going, like health wise.
and remember, for families where the spouse, the other half, is not a contactee, it's very risky to talk to your children about this. Because the other parent may take this as that you're trying to make your kids crazy or something. So just keep it, just
Yeah.
keep that in mind. Is, in a lot of ways we compared this to coming out of the closet when you're gay, because it has the same connotations.
Mm-hmm.
You can get fired over it, you can lose your job over it, people think you're crazy,
Mm-hmm.
they don't think you're morally or spiritually correct. So
Mm-hmm.
all these things you have to take in consideration when you're dealing with yourself, you're dealing with your children. Oh, you mean, did it make me? Oh, yeah, it made me furious the first time I realized that. I think my son was like 3 or 4. He was telling me about the bug-eyed friends coming by, and I was like, and I got really pissed. I mean, I got really pissed, and I think I was only like 26 at the time. I got furiously pissed, and matter of fact, that's part of what that song Gun Joe's written about. I was pissed. I had had enough. I wanted to know what the hell, why you got to be screwing with my kids when you got me. But then somewhere closer to around 30, I realized, well, he's going to go the same things I did. It's going to be the same programs, the same stuff. He's going to come out the same end. So he's a fairly well-adjusted 37-year-old young man. Wait, Clara? No, he's not single. He's good looking, but he's not single. He got a woman. Well, if you think you can get his woman, but he likes rich girls too, man. He likes to be pampered and taken care of and stuff. Yes, well, what do you mean guys can be like that? This is the new woke world, man. Guys can be like that tonight. They can cry and they can go get pedicures and get
Be
flowers. And
emotional. We
that's
want to
right,
be
being
emotional.
emotional. We don't want to be too emotional because
Yeah, just share your emotions.
they're worse than women being emotional. Guys are far worse. No, I'm being serious, my fellow brothers out there. And, you know how you always whine because your wife is doing this or your girlfriend? Oh, no, y'all are far worse than they were. Trust me on this. So keep it together. No, and Denise, no, guys can cry. I have no problem with guys crying. It doesn't mean you're not a man if you cry.
No, you bet. I mean, it's way worse if you stuff all those tears in and then end up mentally ill because you didn't let it out. It's
Now, if
normal
you
to
run
feel
around
human
in
emotion.
pink shorts throwing your hands up, now that might be a little bit different. But
Well, you might belong to another team then. And
that's
all
what I was
of
going to
this
say. You belong to another group. That's all.
Yeah,
Go find your
fine.
group.
It's fine.
No, you should. It should never matter. As long as you're not hurting anybody, you
Yeah.
should always be who you want to be.
Consenting adults.
And you mean that's no? Who cares what sex you are? You got to remember, I'm from New Orleans.
Yeah.
I grew up in a gay transvestite community. It's part of the French Quarter. They had their own bars, their own clubs. They had their own section of the street, and also New Orleans is also 60% black. So it's for me it's different because we didn't see things. The city itself doesn't see things by color. We just judge you for what you are. You're either an asshole or you're not. That's just how it is down here. I can't. Oh, there's always going to be some racism, but for the most part, there's not. So what's really funny is the southern cities are far less racist than the northern cities. So they did a big study on this. So once you get above the Mason-Dixon line, the amount of racism gets worse and worse and worse. Well, my son and my daughter-in-law, they're in a biracial couple. They had just went up to Michigan, where she's from, and they gave them nothing but shit all over while they were up north. All over. Y'all shouldn't be together. That's wrong. In the South, it's not even a thing. Nobody even thinks about it. It's just not a thing. Now, let me explain about the South. When you're in New Orleans or the Gulf Coast or in Florida and places like that, you're not going to really experience racism of any kind. But you get above Hattiesburg, Mississippi, or northern Louisiana, or certain ports of Georgia, you will. And it's a weird kind of racism because they will race you on color, but they will also be against you if you're not from their area. So let's say you walk in the Bumpkinville and you're white and they're white, they're still going to ask you to leave their damn town because you're not from Bumpkinville. It's so there's degrees is what I'm saying. So the more advanced parts of the South is really way farther than the North is on this kind of stuff. But it's a different thing because everybody down here had to learn to live with the other because the majority of blacks live in the South. So it was either be enemies or be friends. There was only the two choices. So somewhere along the line, we all decided, because the South's a big party area anyway, we all decided, well, we'll just party together and drop together. And that'll just be the end of it. And it's been grand since, and the world's changed down here. But in all fairness, when I was a kid, it wasn't. So that tells you how much has changed just in my lifetime. When I was a kid, shit, man, they were seriously racist down here. I mean, the parish president, if you were black and you crossed the parish line, they would actually put you in a police car and escort you back to the city.
It's crazy.
And Harry Lee was, he was extremely racist, and he was Chinese and he was extremely racist. I was like, dude, what? But he got away with it. I don't know how he did, but he got away with it. And then in Old Metairie, a Klansman won a councilman seat. The head of the Ku Klux Klan, David Crazy Duke. Oh, I met him at a club one night called Martine's. I was like, he was trying to be endearing. And I was like, look, dude. And I said, you and I have nothing we're going to agree on. Just you need to go over there, because I was playing for their team. I was like, look, just don't aggravate me because I'm shooting darts tonight. And I said, secondly, we're just not going to have nothing that we're going to be able to talk about. And most of the people in the club didn't want to talk to the guy. Even though he won, nobody wanted to talk to him. I was like, because you know what he stood for. He's disgusting pig is what he was. Well, it wasn't.
Yeah, there are good people and bad people in every sector, every race, every religion.
And they were racist against white people if you weren't what they considered pure white, which I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if there is a such thing as pure white anymore. Maybe
considering white means a ton of different things, I know. Different countries.
I don't. Yeah, it used to crack me because I asked him one time. No, I didn't ask him. We were playing. We were having a drink, and he came by. He said, "Well, your last name's Metaldo. You couldn't be in anyway." He said, "You're one of them nasty, dirty Italians." And I looked up at him. I said, "I'm gonna be nice to you, and I'm not gonna get up and knock you out." I said, "But you do know if Joe or Carlos or Vincent Marcello ever hear you say that, you're gonna be floating in the river." I said, "I just thought I'd warn you ahead of time, and since I'm related to him, you should chill out and go away." And then Martine, the guy at own place, comes out the back. He said, "He's right. They're well connected. You just need to shut up and go sit down over here and not try." He was recruiting. Is what he was trying to do. And at the time, I had very short hair. I wore mirror glasses. I looked like an asshole. I was fresh out of the Navy, but no, man. I was like, don't even. I came from a whole different kind of family than that. We didn't have that kind of family. But what are you going to do? What do you mean aliens do not discriminate people?
No, you're used to seeing someone walk down the hallway with snakes coming out of their head, or someone else with like two heads. You're not caring about the color of skin.
No, you're not. It's
yeah. Or
well, if y'all ever come,
look humanoid at all.
If you ever come to New, what do you mean, Johnny? No, I know who you are. Yeah, because you work with the you heard it here first people. Yeah. Well, no. What are you talking about? Everybody in your show's black. You're confusing me. What are you talking about? They do black artists. It's a black show that does black artists. Mainly artists from like the 70s, 80s, and 90s, but they do more modern music as well. No, it's like well, it's not necessarily rap. It's more like soul music. It's just different levels of music from the 70s, 80s from the black community. It's usually some pretty big stars too. Why? What about them? What are you talking about? No, there's nobody white on there. I don't know why you're worried about it, but there's not. No. Yeah, well, I've been a guest on there before, but I don't have anything to do with the show. No. I don't know what you're talking about. You confuse me. Well, give Ben, write to Ben. He's in, where is it? Let's see. Will's in LA. Ben's in Phoenix. Write to Bill, and he'll tell you about it. It's a great show. It's a lot of fun. They have a lot of good music. What do you mean? Is he? I don't. So you what you're telling me is he's an alien abducted? Well, he's never told me that, and I've never felt that. But no, what you're trying to? Okay, you're trying to tell me that black people don't get abducted. Is what you're trying to tell me? Is that what you're saying? I'm just trying. I want to get this out because I gotta go, but I gotta get this out.
Yeah, look up the Dogon tribe, Dogon in Africa.
Well, I hate to say this, but they were abducting. We'll just say brown people because I don't want to argue with you. Long before white people were even on the continents.
Michael Jackson.
Yes.
David Bowie and his wife.
No, really. But think about it. Before whatever created the white people on the planet, they were just the brown and black people, and they were being abducted. Yes. I mean, I don't know. You kind of starting to sound racist. Are you just racist,
I
or?
d I do think it might be harder in different communities to come out about it. I think there might be more of a social pushback in certain races, communities, at least here in the US. I think there's more of a pushback in
Oh,
some communities than others. They might not talk about it as much.
so you're from Poland, and it's the translations that's not working right for you. Well, no, I'm
I don't
not
think there's many
hating.
Black people in Poland, are there? So how would you know?
I, What do
Not
you mean in the
many.
United States? There are places in the United States that like where my friend Zuby lives in Oregon. I think it's 0.5% black.
Yeah, I've been to some
Yeah, there are
towns that
places
have
like
that
that, but
niche diversity
not
there.
in the South. No, if you come to the South,
Mhm.
there's many black people. There's white people.
Yeah, 'cause they
That's just
used to
how it
do all
is.
the work there,
Yeah,
so they
that's where they're
didn't keep
from,
them out.
and for some reason they didn't want to leave afterwards. They stayed.
Yeah, I'm biracial, black and
Yeah,
white. My mom's black, my dad's white. They both
I,
have had experiences, both
I'm
sides of
just
my
purple, but
family.
I painted myself white for the show.
You just have your mask
You,
on, your
you know,
for
you know, you
human
don't see the little
consumption
pink
mask
right
on.
underneath there. The people, come on. Look, all I can tell y'all, and I'll be honest about this: racism is a waste of energy and time.
Mhm.
There's too many other things. If you want to hate,
We
there's
could
lots
be
of good things to
exchanging
hate.
recipes across the
That's
racial
damn
lines.
right
We could
too,
be
man.
exchanging music.
Oh, you wait. Now you just offended me. You say I like black people because my son dates a black woman. What the? I'm about to bounce your ass. You know that, right? You
I
starting to
think
get on
he's
my
just
nerves.
cruising for a fight, this guy.
It's What do you mean? Yes, I have dated. Yeah, several actually, but we're not. That's not what this show's about. We're not going to get into that. No, we're not going to get into that. You don't need to know about my personal life. What the hell? Well, all I can tell you is you're wasting your time. All I can tell you. I can tell you you feel like people are beneath you. So what you're saying is if you're anything but white, then you're not a real earthling. Is that what you're saying? Human? Are you sure you're from Poland? You're not one from one of the Scandinavian? No, I mean, I'm just. Anyway, it was nice talking to you, dude. You're an idiot. Um,
Good luck with
you better
that
hope
poor
Charis don't
dude.
come to your dreams and melt your brains out your head.
No, I'm peaceful. You just wanna
Yeah, she better. She says peaceful. When your brains start rolling out your eyes, you're gonna wish she was peaceful.
you just did it to yourself, that's all.
You know,
Just a mirror, just a mirror.
look, I don't know what kind of experiences you've had in life, and Europeans and Americans are different kind of people, regardless what color they are. Um, all I can tell you is if you've had a bad experience with the type of person, talk to somebody else. Or
Mhm.
maybe it's because you got an attitude when you meet people. Uh, oh no, I got an uncle for some reason. He just looks like one of them old white plantations owners that would, oh no, black people do not like him. They take it just like as soon as they see him. He don't even have to open his mouth. It's not a race. He just got this look. He's not really racist, but he got to look like I am. I don't know how to explain it. It's a lot would have to be a long story, but he like got his ass killed in the city a couple of times. Well, because people just we was working this one neighborhood. And I got a crew out there, right? A big crew. And we work in his neighborhood. He's walking the street like he got himself killed like three times. I said, what are you doing? Are you insulting? He said, I'm just walking down the street and said, obviously, you just look like some kind of, because he white, red, and white. I don't know, man. He does kind of look racist, I ain't gonna lie.
Bringing his PTSD back.
I don't know. It was kind of funny but scary at the same time. But
Yeah.
then he went into the store, which in this particular neighborhood, all the stores were owned by Indians or Pakistanians actually. And he went in the store, and they were like, "Oh, you on our side? You on our side?" And he's like, I didn't even open my mouth." I said, "You know what? You're not coming to work in this neighborhood with us. You're going somewhere else, but you get yourself shot." I said, "I don't want to shoot somebody because you're a dumbass." But it was just such a weird thing. But people sense things.
Mhm.
They get this sense of it. People. I'm just lucky because I don't really care. Again, oh no, Jenny, I don't care what color you are. Oh no, I look at you. I'm looking to see if you're an asshole, if you're not, if you're a person with spirit, soul, and brains, and I want to talk to you. If you're just some pig walking around being a pig, you're wasting my time. You'll find that almost all of my friends are very intelligent. Oh yeah, I don't, because who wants to talk to dumb people?
It's not that fun.
I mean, I'm not gonna call you dumb, but I mean, but
Oh.
really, do you want to talk to a dumb person? Do you want to repeat yourself 9 times? Do you want to get into a really in-depth conversation about spirit or technology or something? Another person sitting there, well, no. I love dumb people. Yes, I do. I hug them and everything. They got a place in life, just not talking to me. That's all. I don't care if you think I'm being mean. Whatever. Next thing you tell me I hate midgets. I'm just saying. No, I'm having fun with you is what I'm doing, but because all my friends know me, so they know I'm not. But I can pick on you. Um, Look, all I can tell you is if anybody listening to this tonight, if for any reason your brain is stuck in race, get educated.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that there aren't bad people on both sides because there are, but for the majority, you'll find that they're very good, very nice people. Oh man, I was working at Section 8 property out in Kenner, and these old ladies, God, I wish I could go back out and work there again. I must have gained 15 pounds working out there. I'm not kidding you. I was putting the ladies' floor on one day. She kept feeding me. I fell asleep on the floor. She was laughing her ass off. Well, no, but they were just really nice, church-going people. Loved everybody. Matter of fact, there were some bounty hunters out there one day looking for a guy, and they were giving my guy some troubles. These two old ladies come out with brooms, started whooping them. You better leave Mr. Joe's people. I will put this broom where the sun don't shine. These guys are like 6'6", 6'7", 280, 290, big. They were hauling ass from these two little. These old ladies couldn't have been 5 foot if they were lucky.
Amazing.
Just whooping them. I was like, she said, "You're taking care of us out here. We're going to." I said, "Oh, look, I'm not going to offend you at all. So I love you." I got window units, all kind of good stuff. And but they were good. They took good care of us, the crew the whole time, and they didn't have to feed us. When we weren't there for that, we were there to work. And every day there'd be lunch waiting for us. I was like, man, I don't ever want to leave this. We had 66 units. I was trying to slow them down just so I could get lunch. And I remember Janine says, "Did you ever eat cracklings before?" I said, "Yeah." And I said, first 2 times I ate them, I didn't like them. I said, not cracklings.
Chitlins.
Yeah, I said, first 2 times I ate them, I didn't like them. She said, "You're going to like mine." And I said, "Okay, Miss Young, if you say so, we will give them a try and see if I am." Well, she made some good, but it's all in the eye of the beholder. She cooked really good. Everything that woman cooked was good. She made barbecue ribs and never hit a barbecue pit that you would die for. I was like, God, she's just an excellent cook. No cracklings. I eat them things like they're candy. What are you talking about? Man, the ones they make up in the swamp are all greasy. Oh God, I shouldn't even be thinking about them things. Because I told you from the South. Southern people eat a lot of the same stuff. We're not. Okay, real quick, we got to go. So in the South, the foods crisscross each other because the populations are so big. All of our food crisscrosses, and they start getting made into other things, and the flavors start changing, and it just becomes better. Good chicken, man. Chicken goes from great to excellent down here. There ain't even no bad chicken. It goes from great to excellent. I mean, it just depends where you eat, but there's some, whew, Lord. And well, how do you think I got this belly in the first place? New Orleans is a bad city to live in. I'm just saying, it's a bad place to live. You want to stay skinny. The skinny thing over here, she's all right, but the rest of us,
Because I'm
people,
vegetarian. I will say you can catch me at Cafe Du Monde at midnight every time I come to New Orleans.
Oh yeah, it's a nice place to hang out.
Middle of the night, it's the best time to go.
They had the one in the city park. It used to be open 24 hours, but for some reason the guy, I don't know, got stoned and gave up his contract, and a new one took over. And because there's Cafe Du Monde, there's two of them anyway, been around for 100 years, but so the other one took over. So now you used to be able to go have beignets in the park 24 hours a day. So we got like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, fogs out there. And this is a 250-year-old park. The Duel and Oaks are right down the street. So the place is as haunted as all get out.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just a great place to sit and hang out. You watch the fog and things moving around. And but now he had to move it because they won't stay open 24 hours for some reason. He moved the other place. But
either of them?
No, the one that moved,
the main one,
moved 2 blocks away. It built this fancy new place. They're open 24/7. But
yeah, it's gonna hurt my heart.
Beignet is I don't want to call it a donut because it's not a donut. But
it's like it reminds me of funnel cake, kind of. Like it's like big pieces of funnel cake. It has the powdered sugar on it and some cafe au lait.
Oh, they're good, man, and their coffee is just great. Well, we drink coffee and chicory down here, you little wimps. What you mean espresso? Espresso ain't got shit on chicory, my friend. I'm just telling you ahead of time. Oh man, that coffee will knock you out. Well, first they poured half and half cream, half coffee. That's how potent a damn coffee is. You got to make it half and half. Yeah. And even when it's half and half, it's still potent as all hell. You're like, come on. What do you mean, espresso and chicory? Yeah, I'm sure you could do that. You'd probably regret it, but your ass would be buzzing like you'd never stop.
You'd be very awake.
But a couple of good cups of coffee and a quarter late at night, a really nice thing to experience.
Yes.
You can sit right there by the river, or you can take your beignets and your coffee and walk down get by the cathedral on one of the sides. And there's a couple of alleys over there where the rich girls used to walk through with their big dresses, but there's 2 alleys on the side where the slaves used to be sold and hung. So you can go get up in there, and you hear a lot of stuff. You'll sense a lot of stuff. You got to remember that New Orleans was a big slave city. Only the hard part for people to understand on any side is the amount of people that owned slaves in the United States was only about 1.5%. But it doesn't matter. They brought in a lot of people.
Yeah.
That was such a small amount of people controlling such a large group of people.
Yeah.
It's just sad. And not all slave owners were completely horrible, but there were some that were completely brutal.
Yeah.
It's just we could do a whole show on that. I mean,
oh my gosh, many.
Yeah.
Just last night, I was down in Shaka Bottom here in Richmond by a place that was called the Devil's Half Acre, or the Devil's Quarter Acre or something. Now there's industrial stuff there, parking lots. There's a farmer's market there. Now they do some restaurants and stuff. But you can feel the vibe. It's still, and they would send thousands of slaves through every month.
Oh, yeah. They were just, and then if a slave tried to run or something, they would hang him right there on the spot.
Yeah, terrible. It's very dark. It's really shocking to figure out what they even did, because we weren't really taught it in school. They don't really teach you the dark stuff.
And now it's getting worse. That's what a friend of mine, Chris, was talking about the other day. He's a teacher. He goes, Joe, what are they taking slavery out of history? He said, what is the woke?
Crazy to me.
He said, I don't understand this woke. He said, I thought they were supposed to be helping, not hurting.
Well, it was co-opted. The term is co-opted, because even when you think about CRT, I don't even get it myself. I'm like, just teach accurate history.
Yes,
just teach
history.
What happened. If a statistic made somebody feel some kind of way, sorry,
that's a good thing,
though. Statistic, what are you going to do? That's just the truth.
But and I say this all the time: when you forget lessons in life, they have a tendency to repeat themselves.
Exactly.
If you're a young kid and you're hearing this for the first time and you feel horrible, you should.
Yes, and
whatever color you are, you should feel horrible about it.
And ancestry is, they've done studies on animals and seen that you can traumatize someone and their progeny will have that trauma. You look around at what goes on in our country, you're like, yeah, things aren't even, because the trauma is still very real. It's going to take us a while. I mean, something that I always say, and I know this is way oversimplifying it, but it's like, okay, so Black people in the United States, and my mother's Black, right? I'm half Black, half white, with some Indian on both, Native American on both sides.
Last time I seen her.
Which dimension were we in, Joe?
Her mom was very nice and very sweet. She kind of looked at me like I was evil, but still.
She married a white man, was married to him for 18 years.
Not me like that. No, she was a sweetheart. She was very polite. To someone who was talking to her daughter, she didn't know who I was for being. She was like, her sister was very polite. This is the whole, like I said earlier, they're a very nice family, very well educated family, great manners. Well, you know what? People manners are important. I don't know you bunch of pigs out there don't believe me, but they are.
That's that southern thing that's the charm. It's nice to be back in South. People hold your doors for you. It doesn't really happen on the West Coast.
Yes, we still believe. Oh, no, they don't like it. Matter of fact, I was out there last year. These 3 ladies come walking over. I held the door for them. They looked at me like, and then the last lady said, why'd you hold the door for me? I said, because that's the polite thing to do.
Right.
She said, where are you from? I said, I'm from New Orleans. She said, oh, you gentlemen are from the South. I said, let's not go there. Let's not go there. But it was weird because, and my son's really good. He loves to hold doors open for people because it's he'll hold them for men, women, old ladies. It's just the way you should be.
Gentlemanly.
It's the way you should be, because we all should care about each other. I don't say, look, let's not get stupid and go overly caring, but you should all care about each other. Be nice. I always tell people, treat people the same way you want to be treated. If you want to be treated like an asshole, then treat them like an asshole. Because eventually it's going to come out and get you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the nicer we are, the politer we are, the kinder we are to each other, it tends to spread. Right now, the world needs it more than it has in a long time.
And you never know who's at the end of their rope, and you either being kind or not kind will make a huge difference in their life. So just err on the side of kindness.
Yes. It's a good way to think. You never know who you're going to save. People, how much time we got? We should have been going like an hour ago. All right, look, I'll give you 12 minutes since we're that late anyway. But look, so I brought Linda to meet Walt Anders. This is long, many moons ago. She almost knocked the guy down, wrapped on her, tears just streaming down her face because, he had helped her out. We didn't know anything about any of this when we met him. And he was the founder of MUFON, and he took a liking to us. And before MUFON became the dark thing it is today, but so I was just taken back by it. And then about 7 or 8 years, I was in D.C. giving a lecture, and these three ladies came in, and they seen me. They ran up to me, hugging me, they're crying. I got a suit on, they're crying, all mascara running all over the place, makeup. I'm like, ladies, stop. Plus, it was embarrassing, but it made me feel. It just caught me off guard, really. At first, I didn't know how to feel, and then I kind of felt a little overwhelmed, and I was just very appreciative that they even paid attention to what I was saying, and the kid was very nice. But my funniest one was a good friend of mine, Original Paradox. I'm going to say her real name, but she come to visit me with her two sisters. It was so funny. We were in Virginia actually, and I heard her. She heard me talking, and she said, "Joe, Joe, Joe, Joe." When I turned around, I heard her two sisters go, "Baby, he's white." And I didn't want to laugh. I couldn't help myself, though I had to. I didn't want to. And I said, Original, you didn't know? She said, well, Joe, you sound like a black man. She said, have you heard yourself talk? I was like, well, yeah. I said, I'm from New Orleans. I got a lot of colloquialists. I'm sure some of them come from that side of town or that side of the population. I said, I got a lot of friends in different areas and different colors. And I got a lot of employees, same thing. And I got subcontractors. And I said, we all work together. I said, so we probably share a lot of same colloquials. She said, you need to listen to yourself on the radio. And it's funny because the Black Information Network down here, I call in all the time. I'm actually friends with 4 or 5 of the hosts now, and they still swear that I'm black. I said, I gave you a damn photo. I just look. She said, that's a fake photo you put on there. She said, Joe, she said, there's no way. Yeah, and she said the same thing. She said, you need to listen to yourself talk. She said, white men don't talk like you. I'm like, they most certainly do. And I was like, yo, I said, stop it. Yeah, because they were driving me crazy because I was calling in because one of the guys on the show was really, really racist. And I couldn't help myself. I had to call him out. And she said, well, see, it's okay if a black man calls him out. I was like, I keep telling you. And there's 5 I'm going to show. It's a real fun show to listen to. They really got their stuff together. They work really hard to help people out in the city. So I don't mind giving them a hand here and there. And I give them some airtime every once in a while, too, because they are really good people. Except for what's his face, he is a little racist. I said, I don't know how you're still in the air, but he is racist. He said, he said, I'm married to a white woman. I said, I didn't say you were racist against white people, boy, but you hate Hispanics, buddy. I said, you make jokes that, look, even I wouldn't say, man. I said, you need to knock that off. Because I was on there one day when I was a guest with him, and a Hispanic guy called. He said, if I ever see you, I'm going to shoot you, right? And he's like, well, hey, this is where I'm at. I said, no, don't tell me where you're at. He sounds serious. He might shoot you. And I said, I don't have to defend you because you're kind of racist guy anyway. So, but they're a good group of people, and they work really hard. And it's hard because they're going to get people who are going to be assholes to them. They get people that call in, tell them this, tell them that, or want to argue about this or argue about that. I was there the day they started talking about reparations. Said, oh, I'm leaving. She's like, why? I said, I'm leaving. I said, because you can't win this. She said, why? We should get reparations. I said, don't take this the wrong way. I said, but I can think of 3 people ahead of you. And she's like, well, I said, Native Americans we shouldn't even think about anything until we discuss Native Americans. And she's like, oh, shit, you're right, aren't you? She said, we had it bad, but shit, they had it even worse. I said, yes.
Still do.
And that's what I said. And I said, they're still suffering. I said, so
brown water coming from the tap on the reservations.
I said, so we need to think about them first. And I said, Dan, you got to remember the Irish and Chinese were basically brought over here as slaves too. I said, we don't like to talk about that, but they were. And they built the railroads and the canals, and bunches of them died. I said, so we'd have to give reparations to them. And I said, we start giving reparations to everybody.
The U.S., I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot. You start looking, you get horrified at the history of how we became
it's
what
tough.
we are.
And then one of the guys called me and said, well, we should just do like the Germans did, the Jews did, and whoever gets reparation gets them from the people who did the damage, which would mean the plantation owners for the blacks. Well, there ain't no plantation owners left. So that's
well, I mean, there's the ideal and there's like the pragmatic reality, right? And I think the way that I heard someone say this, and it made sense to me. It's like, well, if you're benefiting because your family was on top then and it's still on top now and you're still benefiting from that,
Yeah.
then the opposite can be true too. Your family could have been knocked way down by, like, clubbing your ancestors over the head, dragging them across the water, and forcing them to work for
I don't,
400 years.
I know.
You
I don't even know
know,
how you straighten all this out.
right. So pragmatically, what to actually do, I don't know. But the ideal of it, you get it. It's like, okay, you wanna balance things out, make it fair, and it's not still fair. Like, we're not
No,
starting
it's
from
not.
zero.
We're not starting from
So
zero yet. We still got a
yeah,
ways to go on that.
I think the intention to
Uh,
do it is part of it. Say, okay,
what
well,
do
we
you
don't know
mean,
what the
Chris?
answer
Okay,
is.
okay. Well, Chris, you are right. Originally, slaves were given 40 acres and a mule. Now, this gets very sketchy, itchy kind of stuff. Yeah, 40 acres and a mule today would be about $400,000.
And were those acres farmable? Because
Yeah.
a lot of them
Well,
weren't
no, actually,
farmable.
a lot of them were given to in Virginia and places like that. But that's not the point.
Right.
It was okay. So you get 40 acres in prime territory, but that means you got to cut your way through this to get to it. Some of the places given along the East Coast, they were in the middle of pieces of land that would have took you probably. They were selling them back because it was just too hard to get to the property.
And seeds and the work,
Yeah, and the seeds and stuff like that.
and
So
yeah,
it was
the
sort of a
education to
scam.
do it.
I mean for the people who were in the right places, yes, it helped them out. There's no doubt about that. But what do you mean,
And it
Carl?
wasn't to every single person that it went. So,
No,
just
it did go to
keep
every.
doing
It
your
went to
research.
families.
Like,
Yeah, it
just
only went to
keep looking
families.
it up.
So if you came over and say 10 of y'all had the name of Smith, only one of y'all were getting it. Regardless, whatever your African name was, it wasn't going to matter. They were only going to go by this name. So if you want to on a farm where they all were named whatever, when y'all got out, only the head was going to get it. Nobody else was going to get it. So that stuff that they needed to fix, but unfortunately they never even thought about that. What do you mean, Carly? Yeah, blacks owned slaves in the United States. 0.1% of blacks own slaves in the United States, and 0.15% of white people owned them in the United States. But like I said, when you combine those numbers to what was brought into the country, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, and it just what it did to the mentality,
Oh
like
yeah,
what it does to have people who are treated that way for generations. Like, it takes a while to snap back, and it's a long road to do it.
Jack. Yeah, I agree, Jack. That Zulu did send a lot of people to the country, but you can't get any money out of the Zulu. They ain't
Yeah,
got
and
it.
it doesn't matter who did the wrong as far as that goes. It matters what we're doing here on
Yeah.
this soil
Well,
now.
put it this way: if there wasn't a demand for it, it wouldn't have happened. So yeah, if you want to put on Zulu, go ahead, but you're still blaming the wrong person because yes, a lot of people they conquered, they sold and sent over, but only because there was a demand. And don't forget, they weren't just coming to the United States; they were going to the Bahamas, they were going to Europe. It wasn't just. See, that's what people miss when we talk about slavery. They think, okay, U.S., but they forget this was a much bigger thing. All of the Caribbean, all of the islands had them. It was because it was a cheap workforce, and for a lot of people, it was a disposable workforce. So that's
And it
things
was
that,
the culture. Like, even now, you look at what we do in factory farms. Now, I don't mean like regular clean farming. I mean the gross, hellish factory farms, the
yeah.
big, huge slaughterhouses. That's horrible. And a lot of people don't even realize what goes on. And I have thought to myself, I've had these future memories of being an old woman and sitting down and talking to these kids at, like, around me at my feet, and then being like, wait, as I'm describing factory farms, we don't do it anymore. And they said, wait, did people not care or did they not know? And I was like, they didn't know. They authentically like didn't know. Or if they did, they didn't think about it like that. You have to think like other people would look at what we do now in factory farms and think that is crazy, horrible shit. But since you're just kind of desensitized to it, so you have to think back then, that's what the world was like. That's what the shape of the world was like. That was normal to people from the time they were babies and up. So you can't really hold them to the same standard in understanding why they did it and how they did it. But now you can, because now you can do things like research it on your phone. Now you can do things like see people's accounts from all different sides. So there really is not much of an excuse for ignorance anymore, because you can do your research and see what actually went down.
So John Lewis writes in, he said, I liked y'all's conversation all night. He said, this was kind of a surprise that y'all weren't here with this. I said, well, we're both very well versed on it. What do you mean? I agree there has to be a stopping point. I understand, okay? Somewhere along the line, it has to stop and everybody has to go on with their lives. But where is that stopping point? And how can you heal? Okay, this is just too much for this show, but let's say that we could heal all black people in the world. Let's just say we could do it overnight or somehow we could figure it out. Okay, that still leaves the Native Americans, the Indians, the Chinese, and don't forget, the Romans and the Greeks enslaved white people for 2,000 years.
Yeah.
So how do you? I don't know how you fix. I don't know if you
Talking about
can.
cultural wounds, cultural stuff that goes
Yes,
deep in the psyche
I don't
of
know.
various people, and it just takes time, and it takes everyone trying. The way that I see it is like, okay, if you have people enslaved for 460 years, whatever it was, how about let's everyone just be super nice to them for 200 years? Give it half the time.
Let's
Everyone
just
just be
try to get
super
them.
nice
Let's just
in
try
all the
to get them
ways.
back
Yeah,
on
like
equal
give the
footing with
leg up.
everybody else. Now,
Like,
yes, it's gotten way
mhm,
better, and there's way more millionaires now and billionaires
mhm,
and stuff.
mhm.
But
True.
still, there's a lot of work to be done. And
Yes.
when you'll know in the United States, when every ghetto in this country is gone, it'll mean at least we've
Mhm.
moved in the right direction.
Right, and it
More
can
people.
be.
It can be. Well, the
Yeah.
Southern's getting rid of them. Atlanta's gotten rid of them. New Orleans gotten rid of them.
Mm.
Other Southern cities are getting rid of them. But unfortunately, places like Chicago and New York, they're so big. You're going to displace so many people. See, we got forced. Katrina came along and wiped everything out. So we didn't have any choice. Our population was already displaced. 300,000, 400,000 people had left New Orleans and went to other cities. And when other people who had been living in the projects down here got to places like Houston and seen how much better they were living than they were here, it
Mm.
became an issue. So New Orleans said, okay, we're going to tear down all the projects and we're going to build duplexes and townhouses and we're going to put rich and poor people in there. And then anybody who doesn't fit, we're going to give vouchers to send them to the suburbs. And that's exactly what they did. And it's helped crime everywhere but the city. Unfortunately, the city just likes killing people. And they just can't get past it. That and carjacking, for some reason, they can't get past.
Interesting.
But it's made a difference in the quality of life. So if you were a black child growing up in this city 35 years ago, you were growing up in the ghetto and you were growing up in serious ghettos. These are not playtime ghettos. White people wouldn't even go down there for the fear of their life because most of them would probably get shot. So many
Mm.
black people were being killed and it was ridiculous. There's so much drugs going around. Shit, one night on Fisher, which was one of the large ones, I got up and shot at one of the police stations, all the hell and back. And then Desire was huge. So these kids really didn't have much of a chance. Now they're coming out of middle class places. They understand what it is to live better. They've got swimming pools and tennis courts. They're going to better schools. They have better homes. They're cleaner. There's no graffiti. There's no drugs allowed on the premises. It's just a better life. So they actually have a shot. Now they have a shot to move, but that's here. That's not Chicago or New York. They're still putting out these same people. And granted, what do you mean LA? Yeah, LA has got ghettos too, but not the
Yeah,
same as
LA
like
has a
Chicago.
different, yeah,
Yeah, it's a
LA's got
whole different
different
color.
races going on. I've lived
Yeah,
there a lot. I just relocated back from there
yeah.
last fall.
It's
I was there
it's
for a long time and it's different. It's
it's
different.
yeah, it's just a
Yeah.
different thing.
There's
It's
still
not just.
racism.
Oh
It's
yeah, it
just
is
you got
racism.
different
Yeah,
races fighting each other, more of
yeah,
them, more races.
yeah. And
Um,
it's unfortunate in places, some of the big cities like Chicago, New York, Baltimore, Detroit. They have this big problem and they
yeah.
can't figure out how to solve it. Because what are you going to do with all these people until you fix it? And
Right.
where's the money going to come from?
Yeah. And who's
You
gonna
know,
do that work? Are you gonna pay
yes.
them well? Are you gonna take care of them and so they don't
And
get
are you
burnt
going to
out in
make
2
and
years?
are you going to make sure these are black companies that come in and do a lot of the work? Since it's going to be, what's going on. Because I know
Mm.
traditionally in a lot of big cities, they'll tear down something and you'll see a white contractor come in and he'll make all the money. And
Mm.
there's plenty of black
Same
contractors in the
problem.
country.
Yeah.
So you might as well give them a shot. Now, if you can't find somebody, you can't find somebody. You use who you can, but you still got to give them the shot, and just to see if they can. Well, that'll change the country. Giving kids, it's not so much for the adults today. The adults today, there's only X amount you can do for, but the children you can do a lot for, and you can change their attitudes to where when they're growing up, they're just like any white kid or any kid that grew up in a middle class
Mhm.
neighborhood. That's who they are. They're not going to
Mhm.
identify themselves by color. They're going to identify themselves by just the class of life they live in. Because mostly in this country today, there's more racism against class than there is against color. So today, if you're poor, there's X amount of racism against you. If you're middle class, doesn't matter what color it is so much anymore. It's just the fact that you're middle class and that's where you're living. Well, middle class is middle class people. 2 cars, food, boat, whatever, travel. It's just a style of life. But for a long time, that was denied to young
Mhm.
black kids,
Mhm.
and today that's changing. And more like a bunch of my black friends from Chicago have moved back to New Orleans. They said the racism in Chicago is out of control now.
Mm.
And I don't understand that since they had Laura, I guess little light Laurafoot pissed off all the people at the blacks. I'm confused what was going on up there. I don't understand it. I mean, it was a black marriage. It should have been better. Instead, it got worse. So I'm confused, but who knows what the hell these people are talking about. All I can tell you, people, is hug your neighbor, love your friend. Don't love your neighbor, hug your neighbor, okay? It's not make a mistake. That's hug thy neighbor, not love thy neighbor. And I'm just getting this straightened out for anybody gets himself arrested or shot or something. And never ever look at anyone based on their skin color.
Yeah.
Oh, so you like tan girls better? What the hell does that mean?
Well, everyone can have your preferences. It's
Okay.
one thing, that's one level, but the other level is how you
So,
treat humans
you were doing that
regardless.
because you was hitting on Charis.
Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah.
see what was going on.
Regardless of whether.
I see what was going on here. She would hurt you. She'd crush your little heart. You need to go on with your little self. Yes, that's it. No, we out of here. We got to go. We already went over an hour. Well, started a half hour late, so we only went over half hour. Oh no, dude, she'd crush your heart. No, trust me. You're out of your league, my friend. I'm just trying to help you out. That's all. What do you mean? What are you talking about? No, I ain't even telling her that. Go on with yourself. Just go on with your little self. You can write to her. She'll just kick you in the ass, but you can write to her. Janice, I'm sorry, I'm saying your name wrong. We had 3 French people in here tonight. How interesting.
Nice.
I was kind of surprised before we go. I was kind of surprised how racist freaking Europeans are. And English people, I had no idea. I was just stunned to find out. I was talking to a friend of mine over there. He said, Joe. So a friend of ours, our tradies, we used to talk to a long time ago. He lived in London. He's a young black gay man, right? He's a good friend of ours, one of our directors. He said, you don't get it. He said, this country, he said, you think your country's racist. They ain't got shit on us. He said, if I don't go to a black bar, I can't go anywhere. He said, when I was in the United States, I could go to any bar I wanted to here. He said, I'll get thrown out or beat up or something.
Wow.
I said, are you sure it's because you're gay, not gay, and instead of black? He said, I'm telling you, it's both. I said, but maybe it's one more than the other. But
Guess it depends on the bar.
Zuby told me the same thing. She said, everybody was very nice to her in England, but they were always mouthing behind her. Like she said, she heard the N-word quite a few times, and she said, she said the only time she ever got in a fight, she said, maybe we should buy you some white paint. And she decked her little ass. She said, I just decked him. She said, I still hear my mom's mouth as I decked this little girl. I was like, go girl, go deck her. Well, sometimes violence is incurred. All I can say, people, is be nice, love everybody. No, unless they're idiots, but the rest of them, pay attention. Just be nice. Again, I'm gonna say this one last time tonight. Treat everybody like you want to treat yourself. I mean, how you want to be treated. I want to be treated like the god. So look, get over here, send me money, send me cars, send me jewelry. No, I'm just teasing. I'm actually quite a happy individual for the most part. Yes, I am.
And there's something to that inner posture, right? Like, try not to do things that your future self is going to feel dumb about, like that you're going to regret. Try to act in a way that you can have dignity and be proud of yourself.
Marsha, I was going to talk about that, and I forgot we were talking earlier, and I wanted to talk back and forth about popping back and forth from past to future to future to past, because I've always felt like I was bad in the future, and I get sent back to this nasty, dirty-ass planet because obviously I did something I wasn't supposed to. Well, I have a really weird thing with tech, and I really understand a lot of tech. A lot of stuff I learned, stuff I hadn't even took courses on. I still remember one of my commanders when I was in tech school. He said, how the hell do you know this? He said, we haven't even released these books. I said, it just seemed like the natural course. Yeah. And he said, Joe, that's weird. I was like, no, it's not. It's just the progression of the way it would go. That's why when we get into arguments about was vacuum tubes a progression to solid state? People argue all the time. Oh, it had to be alien technology. Why? People forget that vacuum tubes were silicone. Yes. And the new chip was silicone. It was just a different type of silicone. So it wasn't that big a jump as everybody thought it was. Mm-hmm. It was just taking a vacuum tube and squishing it down into a solid state piece. And yes, I shouldn't know anything about vacuums. I'm not that old. No. So I never knew nothing about a vacuum tube in it. Jesus, people, y'all think I'm like 100? Y'all are just rude. Anyway, we're gonna invite Charis back real soon, and we'll get in a little bit deeper into some of the contact stuff. And no, she's a full-blown contactee. Well, everybody starts out as an abductee because we don't know what the hell's going on in the beginning.
But then I had stuff come back from childhood confirmed with my parents. Oh yeah.
What do you mean? Is everybody going to agree? Oh no, nobody ever agrees on everything. Charis and I have talked many things. We agree on a lot of things. We disagree on things. That's just part of it.
Yep.
No, don't get hurt. No, you're not gonna, because we're different. We look at things from different views, and sometimes we learn stuff that fit together. So it's our Charis
It's
and
all
I
about having a
look.
big horizon. Like, listen to people who have opinions different than yours. Yours might grow a little bit. Like, you
Yes.
might grow your edges a
We
little bit.
we have probably 30 hours of chat with each other. That's available to
At
y'all.
least.
That's not just stuff we've chatted about, but that's available to y'all to go listen to. We've
Mhm.
talked about all kind of stuff, and when we started talking about the indigo children, the star children, it's important to realize that most of the star children are just a conglomerate of all these races that have been backing and breeding with each other. So, like I said earlier, the reptilian bred, they had children, that children bred with the gray, and those children bred with the humans, and they bred backwards. Those are really the ones.
Yeah.
Well, it's not really based on ability. It's not even based on a particular alien. It's just based on how they came to be, I guess is what I'm saying. That's what really makes them what they are. They're
It's
very
heritage.
special.
Yeah.
Yes, and most of them are special. Most of them can't figure it out because they get lost in the white noise. But some of us can. But again, that's what we're here for. Yes, call us, talk to us, listen to us. There's lots and lots of stuff on this to listen to. You can see how both of us have dealt with this over life. It gives you two different opinions on how we dealt with it. Both of us are still sane, barely, but still. So she's more sane than I am. But
I
still,
don't know. I don't know.
it's a.
It depends on where you
I
look.
mean, it depends. Yeah, it depends.
Which are
No.
our
Oh
areas.
no, she's great to listen to chat. I'll just catch her when she's chatting on Facebook or Instagram or
Yeah.
something. I'll forward it out when I see. I don't always see her because sometimes I'm doing stuff.
Yeah. The
It's
algorithm. Who knows?
yes. No, do I think she's worth listening to? She wouldn't be on the network if I didn't think she's worth listening to. Give me a freaking break, man. Who have I, you've been on this with me a long time. Who have I brought her here? Yeah, that's exactly right. I ain't bringing nobody here I don't think's worth listening to. Get the hell out of here with that. And Charis is just she's had to go through things in her life that I think y'all should learn about because I think it would help y'all. And she has a better balance on as far as what I would consider. I hate using the PLL or the peace and love light because it's not really what it is. It's more of just a grasp of a realm of spirituality and the things that go with the gifts that go with being a contact. Yeah, I think she's got a better handle on a lot of people.
Do you know her and
Except
take no shit?
except she don't eat steaks. Other than that, we're
No, I'm
okay.
vegetarian. That
She
was part
misses
of
out.
it too. That
She
happened
misses
when
out.
when I had my contactee stuff is right around when I was
Yeah, they
vegetarian.
didn't want it because the gray wanted your damn filet mignon. That's why.
I mean, it could be like my hands. Like they say, "Oh, what race are you?" I'm like, "Well, I got some gray. I
Got a
definitely got
little
some
this, a little
Pleiadian.
this,
I
yeah.
think I got a little snaky going on too. Like I'm not gonna hate on all the
Yeah, I'm
reptilians.
pretty sure you do.
Sometimes we might have a little vertical pupil, but the point is, what's the agenda? And for me, it's evolution and harmonious evolution. So that's the point. That's the long view. So you can be into it or
Uh,
you can't, but I'm going
yes,
that way.
yeah.
So.
Well, what do you mean, Carol?
Hmm.
You mean about being a vegetarian? We'll talk about that on another show. It's yes. Well, we wouldn't be humans if we didn't eat meat. So that's where we came from. That's what made us intelligent in the first place. But is that what's good we need to carry on? That's yet to be seen.
And there have always been some populations on Earth that haven't. Like, there's been vegetarianism going back, whatever. It's just
Yes.
some amount of people want
Yeah,
to
no,
that way.
no, I agree on that argument, you Carol. That's what got us
Yeah.
out of the fields of Africa
Yeah.
was eating meat. But well, there was no fish to eat in the middle of Africa. Give me a
Yeah, and
freaking
you
break,
couldn't
man.
get protein powder, and you couldn't
Yes.
overnight spirulina, and
Worlds are different now. Now there is ways to get that protein that you would get from meat. Oh no, I'm not giving up my steak. That's not what I'm saying.
no.
But no, I like my steak. Get the hell out of here. But there are lots of ways to get protein now that you could not get it before. And just protein shakes alone can give you enough. Well, you
Yeah.
have to have protein for the brain to develop and to keep developing. But again, and there are lots of plants with protein. You just got some plants are
Just
better
gotta
than
do the
others.
research
I'll
and
tell
see
you
what your
what,
body's asking for, 'cause
I'll
everybody's
give you all my recipe from my fried vegetable. Well, it's not fried vegetables, but I use 14 different vegetables. This shit is fabulous, man. It is freaking fabulous. Yes, well, I can cook. I like to cook. Anyway, we out of here. I got to go. Y'all done messed me up. All kind of shit.
put that
Charles,
recipe on
tell
the
them one more time where these people can find
All
you
right,
at so we
come
can get out
find
of here.
me at charismelina.com, CharisMelina.
Wait,
My podcast is called Stars and Spirits.
she didn't even tell me
On
she had a
TikTok,
podcast. See
I'm
how
Grace
she treats
Laverne.
me? No, good. I'm sorry.
What?
I'm abused, child. What can I say?
All
I'm
good.
abused.
Oh, and the book, the Starseed trilogy, the first book is Journal of a Starseed. The other two come after that, and they talk about the journey of contactee awakening. So for those of y'all who are spinning out and scared, it
There
might be
you
a
go.
guide. It's a memoir style. So
Go take a read, see what you did. Give her if you got questions, write to her.
yeah.
Charis
I'm
likes to ask conference. She likes to answer questions. She's not. She's not. What do you mean, a snob? No, she's not a snob. She's a very nice woman. Well, I was gonna say young lady, but she's a full blown woman now. So when I met her, she was a young lady, but now she's a full
We knew
blown
each other
woman.
for a minute.
But I want to be insulting nobody here, people.
No,
Oh
please.
man, I'm telling y'all what. We
Never.
out of here, guys and girls. I want to
All
thank
right, y'all.
everyone for tuning into United Public Radio. I'll get it back in a couple weeks. Probably not till after I come back from LA. I'll look and see what the schedule is because I got other people. I know next week we might have an open. Tom Wood's coming on the week after that. We're going to be talking about getting ready for the Riders of the Future gig and what he does. Oh, look, somebody's familiar just showed up. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
She's getting ready to transfer bodies. Y'all keep your eyes open. Next
No
thing
big
you'll see her
deal.
eyes going. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. I'm telling you what. On that note, good night, everybody, and stay tuned for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. And again, try a little peace, love, and light in your life. It's not going to kill you to try it out. I promise.